right, folks. We are cooking. Came in with 111 people. It's not bad. How's everybody doing tonight? It's Tuesday. It's a Wednesday night. We're doing a live stream tonight. We got so much stuff going on, so much work to do. But I wanted to take a break from everything that was going on, and I actually wanted to touch base with my fans and bring you something special, an impromptu Wednesday night show. I like to do these. We want to do Paranormal Roundtable at least like 4 nights a week, but it's hard when we're trying to do the pre-records and when people have been sick, everybody's been sick, and then we're pushing. I'm trying to finish the books. I got deadlines I got to meet so they can get produced and be ready for sale by the conference. So that's very important. That's why I'm having to do all of that stuff. And so that's what's going on with that. Everybody put the link to the conference. The conference is still going on. It's going to happen. Just had some conversations today with some of the nice folks that are going to be at the conference, people asking for questions. Those of you that are asking about hotels, we're going to figure it out because we are in communication with the conference center, and they're going to help us with a hotel. So people are wanting to know what hotel that I am going to be staying at, along with my colleagues. And so, yeah, we'll let you guys know as soon as I know, and that way everybody can try to fill up that hotel, and we can, whatever. But yeah, I'm thrilled too, and I appreciate everybody that wants to stay at the same hotel as me. I don't know why you'd want to, but that's, I'm kidding. We're all friends here. I'm still battling whatever this is. Like I said, I tested negative for COVID, but I'm wondering if it's, if it's something, because it sure does linger, whatever this is. It's just lingered on and on. Yeah. So with that being said, I'm going to let some people fill up in the chat a little bit here, and then we're going to get to talking. If anybody has any questions or anything they want to talk about, say it now. Yeah, that's a good point. Cassie just made a good point. Make sure that abnormal investigation is unblocked. Yeah,
I'm going to do that right now, actually. If you're watching, Mike, we're going to unblock you right now.
Yeah. So if you're there, if you are. Yeah, so everything's good. I mean, we had a few issues, but everything's fine. Everything's going the way it is here at Paranormal Roundtable. I assure you that I'm not trying to take anything to anybody, okay? I'm just reacting, and I need to learn to not react, I guess. That's probably the best policy. I do try to not react to 90%, but sometimes it just hits, and you're just like, you get sick of it. I'm only human, a lot of people... Where'd you get this? Was this from on the wall?
No.
Where'd you get it?
It was right next to it. It was last time that last show we did.
I can tell you that's from the apartment, dude. I don't want that.
That's not from the.
Oh yeah, I can taste it, dude. That's that case that was on the floor.
No.
Where'd you get it?
Those were the waters from last show.
Okay, where did you get those? Is what I'm asking.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah, that's what.
Those from.
You don't drink that. Pour it out.
Uh-huh.
This one too. I would just not, or do something with them because burn them or something. The water probably burns. Sorry, folks. I need to be able to. Okay, so anyways, folks. So we're just letting the chat fill up. Sorry about that. What I'm talking about is that water was sitting in a moldy apartment, and believe it or not, that it can't affect it even through the plastic, and water in plastic is just not good anyway. But I could, now that I'm starting to get my sense of taste and smell back, I could taste the whatever that is in that apartment they wouldn't fix. So sucks when you have to go through, you have to move hell, to try to make people do the right thing, and those people just don't want to. It's just, it's how it is. They make lots of money, but they don't want to pay for something that they did. But yeah, we're going through that, and we're going through all kinds of stuff, but we keep pushing. That's what it is. We keep pushing. We have detractors, and we have, naysayers and people that want to misquote me. This is all I'm going to say about the thing on Facebook. Look, I don't know what else I can say. I don't know how much more clear I can be. I don't want people to misinterpret my words, but obviously that's going to happen. They're like, oh, it's a shame that you're not going to let people tell their stories who don't have the documentation. It's like, you telling the story is a form of documentation. You don't understand. Okay? Like, if you can at least tell your story or tell someone else's story, that's perfectly fine. I just don't for the life of me understand, like, where the miscommunication. There's nothing more I can say or anybody else can say. We've said everything, and if you still can't get it, I don't know what to say. Everybody is welcome here. If you have a story to tell, you're just as important as anybody else. We're all on the same level. I don't look at somebody and go, oh, you're not as worthy as this other person. But you can't just come and say, hey, I'm an investigator. I want to come on your show, but I don't have a story to tell. That's impossible. I mean, you have to be able to have something. People come here to hear that. That's the whole point. So I was going to say something. PRT, Josh Turner at PRTpodcast.com, patreon.com/PRT podcast. You can join the Patreon, 10, 20, 30, and we have to also have a $40 tier now, right?
Not yet, but we will.
Okay, well, that's forthcoming, and each tier gives you a better swag bag, basically. And we want you to rep the merch. If you are someone who is in the Patreon, we sent like 9 or 10 out like a week ago. We're gonna do the other ones at the end of this week. Hopefully tomorrow we will be getting our shipment in of shirts, and only people getting them will be those that order them from the online store, or people who go to the conference will have access to them, or those that are on the Patreon, because we only have a limited amount of merch. So you if you want to buy a shirt, you can go to the store. Can I get, is there paper towels or anything here? This is just soaking wet right here. It's all over my arms. Sorry, folks. And so if you want a shirt, you can order one from the store, or like I said, you can, yeah, that's the only way to do it. I mean, because all of our merch has to go toward the conference. Thanks. So we got. Sorry, folks. That ice melted quick in there, man. It is so hot outside, man. Like, it's unbelievable. So, yeah, that being said, I was going to ask a question, and this was something I was really eager to ask. Well, before I do that, let me back up a bit. I want to say something. Some people mentioned that I didn't say anything about Claudia Ackley's passing. I'm going to get into that at the beginning of the show on Friday. That's not what this show is about, what this show is for. And I will have someone on who's going to talk with me about that. And this person and another person, we all sort of mutually agreed that it would be not something to talk about immediately, because her story will be in my book, The Bigfoot Phenomena. And so with that story, with her story coming out in the book, I thought it prudent that we didn't, and I was also, me and another person were the last people to interview her. So the people that are saying, oh, you didn't say anything about her, there's a reason for that. Instead of always jumping on this attack mode, I wish that you guys would just chill out, and it's not everybody, it's just a handful of people, but they're always so eager to any little move I make or any little mistake that they perceive, they attack. And it's like, look, you don't know the whole story. When I'm ready to give you the rest of the story, I will. And I did talk to Claudia about 3 different times. So I know a lot more than that's going to be in the book. There's going to be a lot more information than you could really, and she passed like a couple days after we spoke. It was very shocking. And I had to watch how I treaded on that and how I stepped, because it is sensitive stuff and it's going to be in the book. And I do have other interviewers and investigators who were involved in talking with her. And it wasn't just what she relayed to me, but what she relayed to them. And then we had to come to a conclusion and make a decision. And we decided, that it would be better that if we didn't say anything about Claudia until we were able to get together and say something on air together. So that's going to happen at the beginning of the show on Friday. We're going to release some information. And then I'm going to have a special guest come on. Friday is my birthday. I'm not making a big deal out of it. It's just, once you're in your 40s, it don't matter how old you are. It's like whatever. But yeah, that's my birthday, and I'm going to have a very good dear friend come on, and we're gonna talk and whatever. But I do want to say that I did not forget. I wasn't ignoring it either. The fact that she passed when everyone else was like, "Oh, Claudia Ackley passed," whatever. Unfortunately for me, I had to kind of stay quiet. There's a reason for that. So yeah. So there's a lot going on, and the book is probably going to have some controversy. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like that's how it goes. It is what it is. We do what we do. Thank you for those donations, Jim Kovac. Thank you for those donations. Trust Jesus. I guess that's your handle. Larry Fisher, thank you for the donation. So. What we have tonight, though, going on is stories, and I'm letting the chat fill up. Does anybody know? I'm sure everybody knows, but does anybody have anything to say about the woman on the plane? Because right after that story broke, I got a story from someone about being on a plane, and so I told the guys, I said we could do a show about these encounters on the plane if we can find more of them. Well, I found 2 others, and they involve the plane. Now, one of them is a little more dramatic than the other 2. The other 2 are kind of like, hey, I saw something weird type thing. But let me know in the comments what you think about that, because when we looked, and Anthony, you want to talk about what you found because you were looking for the information.
Well, I mean, I tried to find the original video, but if you type it in the YouTube with all the keywords, it's hard to find. It's hard to find like just the unedited original video by itself, because
without someone speaking over it, or
you just get a bunch of people like plastering their face over it, like their face is like right there, taking up that much of the screen, and they just pause the video every 5 seconds and give their take on it. Like I don't want that. I don't want to be told what to think. just want to watch the video. So yeah. I don't know if anyone can find the original, just like the full video, and I don't know, post a link in the comments or something. That'd be great, because I can't find it.
Yeah, it was very bizarre, but there were other people who, somebody in the chat just said that they thought she was a crisis actor. I don't know. I just know that I've gotten a couple stories. One that was given to me right after that happened, and this individual, another female, said that she had a very weird encounter when she was flying from Charlotte, or she had a layover in Charlotte, I guess, and then she was heading down to Florida. I don't know. It was very weird, but she was on a layover, and when she got on the plane, when she boarded the plane in Charlotte, North Carolina, something very weird happened. Sibylla just said someone posted a different angle on Twitter yesterday. Oh, man. It's a very weird thing. Trying to read the comments here, folks. Before
someone said it was posted on TikTok. Well, then I'm never gonna see it because I'm not going on TikTok.
None of us use TikTok.
Never ever gonna download TikTok.
We're all somewhat adults here.
Yeah, I'm not a big TikToker type person. I can't be. I just don't have time for it. Even though they're a little quick, it's like I feel like when I look at that, my brain is melted.
Never find anything good on there, I don't think.
No, it's nothing worthy. Bradford Johnson, is that true? I wonder if that's true. I'm just reading some of the comments. Yeah, Sibylla, that's exactly right. Collins, what's up, guys? On my lunch break, I downloaded 10 lives to listen to. Finally catching an actual live show, looking at tickets. Birthday is September 18th. Awesome. Well, happy birthday, Collins. We appreciate it. I tell you what, I'll do a 2-for-1. You buy a ticket, I'll let your second one come in for free. They don't have to pay. Just be your plus one. Bring it in. Kind of got chastised the other day about our financial situation, but, you know, it is what it is. Yeah, Holly M. Yeah, Dark Waters talked about it on his channel. He made a good point. She looked genuinely frightened. There's a couple other things I wanted to talk about too, but here's the story. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to take my glasses off for a minute because I do have a headache from glasses. So I can't see the chat, but if you guys see anything really that stands out, really interesting, let me know. Don't feel like you have to wait. Just say it. So here's the thing. The person that gave me this story, they were on a plane boarding a plane in Charlotte. And she, her name was Sandra, and she was very frightened, genuinely frightened. Same thing. She said when she saw the video, her blood ran cold. One of the things that she said was when she sat down, she boarded and she sat down on a window seat, and a man came and he sat in, like, he didn't take the immediate seat, but there was a seat between them. She said that, and I don't want to get into the airlines and all that other stuff because I don't want to open myself up to something. I'm very guarded against that. I've been in lawsuits. It's not fun. And I've been on both sides. I don't want to have to deal with people and their nonsense. So I'm not going to give you all that information. And so this person sat down. Another person sat next to them. And when she looked over at that person, the person yawned. And when they yawned, now look at the average person who yawns. It's like, that's a yawn. That's a fake yawn. That actually made me want to yawn for real. But it's a fake yawn, right? But that's your mouth doesn't open up as wide as a Tasmanian tiger. When she looked over at this individual, his mouth opened like it was gaping open. And when he went to close it, she saw like a shaking vibration looking thing, right? And she saw what looked like teeth that were not normal. When I read what I read, I was like, oh, okay. And then I called this woman and we talked last night or night before. And I said, what did the teeth look like? She's like, have you ever seen the inside of a dog's mouth? You know, how they, you know, and she's like, it was crazy. It was like almost like he had a short muzzle or snout. And I was like, this isn't the first time I've heard of someone seeing someone that's shape-shifting right before their eyes. Another person gave me a story very similar to this, not on a plane, but just to show you that there are other people who have these kind of encounters. This one was, if you're in New Mexico, and I can't remember the name of there's like a little stop right there, right outside the Navajo reservation. And Anthony, when we were going to California the last time, we stopped there. Yeah. You and I and Nellie, and there was like a restaurant, a little inside of a little adobe building, whatever. Mm-hmm. I can't remember the name of it, but I think that that's the place that they were talking about. But they said that they ran into this individual, and then they went to their destination, and when they were on the way back, there's a rest stop on the other side, about, I think, a good 50, 60 miles from there. And so they run into the same person. What are the odds of that?
Yeah.
What's really weird is the guy was like, I'm in the restroom, I'm washing my hands, and I see this guy come out of the restroom. He goes up to the sink and begins to wash his hands next to him. When he did, his eyes were completely black. And he's like, I recognize this guy because it was 2 days later. He had the same vehicle and he had the same shirt. When he noticed the shirt, it was a very specific shirt. And he was like, I see this shirt and it's a sports team, right? And he's like, I look and I'm like, that's the same guy, because it was sort of it was an older throwback shirt, like from the 90s. And this happened like in 2015. And so he thought it was odd that guy was wearing that shirt. He goes, it's an old logo. And he thought, that's weird. Michael Sprott, whoa, thank you for that donation. I appreciate that a lot.
That's incredible.
And so when he saw this man's shirt, he thought, am I tripping? Did I not just see this guy at this place? Too? And it was all because of that shirt. It jogged his memory, and he looked up and he saw the guy's eyes. The guy was washing his hands like this, like straight ahead. This is how he described it. And he said that the man never looked at him, and he couldn't tell if the guy was looking at him through the mirror, into the mirror, because he was looking straight ahead, but his eyes were completely blacked out. Now, if I had a quarter for every time somebody said that they've seen people with blacked out eyes, we'd all be rich. You guys know we hear that all the time about this black eyes, What that is, I don't know. Somebody posted in one of the groups the other day about that. They were like, what is it with the black eyes? I don't know. Is it an alien? Is it something that's alien? Is it something demonic? Is alien demonic? I know that I don't watch Steve Isdall's channel a whole lot. I don't get time to watch very much at all of any other channels, but somebody sent me a video. And Steve, I watched him for maybe a little bit, for maybe the second time in my life. And he was talking about that. I didn't even get to finish it because, of course, I get interrupted by work, which is a constant, I want to say a nuisance, but it's my bread and butter. I can't complain about my livelihood. But I got interrupted by work, of course. Like always, it never fails. And I was trying to watch Steve talk, and he said something about aliens and demons, and I was kind of getting into it. And then, of course, something always comes and, ruins the time. But I thought he seems like he's got a very good channel, folks. Anybody that I look at and I say, hey, if those guys got something going on, go check them out. And I did get to watch, what's his name, Mike from Abnormal Investigations, tell a story about living in his grandmother's house, which was very interesting. It was short. It was only like I think 15 minutes or something, or maybe less, which is a story he had actually shared with me, a little bit of it. And he went ahead and told that story on his show. And I know he's not really a storyteller per se, but I think he did a good job, and it was interesting. The main thing to me is the story, that's because everything we do comes out in these reports, and the reports are very important, and that's my end of it, I will say this, I will reiterate that I do go out and investigate, but I don't tout that because that's not my main thing. You're not here to hear about that. You're here for me, you're here to hear about the stories. But these guys, they do a pretty good job on their channels. So those two are pretty cool. Another channel that I'd like you to go and check out and whatever is Barton's channel, obviously, in humanoids is good. Hellbent Holler is pretty good. There's several different channels that are pretty good channels as far as people who go out in the field and do actual real research. Those are some real people right there. But I respect those people. Like, I have friendships with those people. So I would promote them, to you, because somebody's been, well, not somebody, but several people have asked me, what do I watch? If I have time, which is not very often, I'll pop in. There's another guy that has a very small channel. His name is Michael Anthony. I don't like his too. But he's on the air every once in a while, and I like him. He's good. But, there's a lot of small channels. Bettina, obviously, she's very good. Crypto Normal Encounters with Bettina Moss. But that being said, this guy, he was in a bathroom, and he said that nothing else happened. I mean, it wasn't like a long, drawn-out encounter where there was just, it's not Beware of Dog or Immortals or one of those stories where it's a long story, an hour long.
I kind of want to say something. Michael Sprouse said, Josh and team, I will purchase 4 tickets for people who want to go to the conference but have problems with funds since I can't make it.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty cool.
Well, there you have it, folks. If anybody wants to go to the conference, he's off.
This is very interesting.
Yeah. So I appreciate that, Michael. Thank you very much. You've been very generous and kind to the show. So here's what I'm going to tell you. You know, when I went back and I went into our amazing super duper computer database and was like, and I looked up in a file, and went into the matrix, right? And I was battling fractals. They were coming at me with their weird Dorito-shaped heads, and I was fighting them off. And eventually I reached my destination,
No, it was like
a hall of
typing in
hexagons.
no, I was typing in the background, like in those stupid movies.
They're all-
I'm in. Like they never use a mouse for anything. They're always just
Yeah, they got to type it all in. And
What the hell
they
are
break
you
the
doing?
code so fast.
yeah.
They're like, dude,
It's like,
They look like
he's in.
Zoolander.
Can you slow him down? That's not how it works.
can we do something? Can we give the alien a cold? So here's the dramatic conclusion to the story with the woman in Charlotte. What ended up happening,
Enhance.
she told a stewardess, she got up. She didn't start freaking out like the woman at the airport. She wasn't like, you know, she just got up and she's like, excuse me, I cannot be moved. There's people, it's filling up because I don't want to sit next to this guy. And they said, okay. They moved her to another seat and she was willing to take an aisle seat and she didn't care, or middle, whatever it was. Yeah. What would you do if you sat next to somebody who yawned and their mouth opened up like they could swallow an entire pumpkin? I mean, it sounds silly, it sounds ridiculous, but this kind of stuff happens. Now, I'm going to tell you a more dramatic encounter. And I'm going to put my glasses on for this so I can read anything that's being said. You know what? Actually, this is like, I think it's got like a fingerprint on it or something. Here's this. I want to use that. When you look at these stories taken by themselves, you're kind of like, you're like, what is this? It's just one story. It's just one person freaking out, right? This person's just freaking out. But what happens when you look at these stories and it's not just one story? Hold on one second. Work again here. Never ends. Today's usually a busy work day. That's why. But I'm trying to do as much as I can for the show, especially leading up to the conference. So, when you take these, thank you so much. Appreciate it. You take them together as a whole, you start to get a bigger picture. I mean, that's a little something on there. No biggie. I think it was lint. When you start to see these stories for what they are, there's actually more to this than just one story. One of my favorite researchers of all time is Albert Rosales. If you haven't looked at Albert's work, you're missing out, because this guy has collected a huge database. And I went in and I looked at some of his stuff. Now, he's always told me as long as I give him credit, he's okay. But I don't like to just poach from people and take from things. Him and Josh Nanoki have been very kind to me, allowing me to use any of their material and their stories, and I've taken some and gone deeper into them, which leads to people saying, oh, you took that from someone else's channel. Yes, with permission. But the thing is, these stories I'm telling you right now, these are stories that were given to me. Now, there was one that was given to me by a woman who I had planned on, I'm sorry, it's a guy. And I had planned on telling his story, which I think was very appropriate right now to talk about because of what just happened. Do we get set up, the public, do we get set up so that this stuff, and this is a question that one of my listeners sent me, and he was like, do we get set up for this stuff so that when it comes out, it looks like, oh, it's no big deal? I don't know. Carla Washington says, Josh, can you do me a big favor and put a link to me for Vault's email? I tried getting on there, but it said the address was no longer working. I went to buy some shirts and cups from him. Yeah, Carla, I can send you a link to his channel. I don't know the email. I just spoke to him on the phone at length yesterday. And if anybody is not aware of what's going on, go to his channel whenever we're done here. Go check him out. He's sort of semi-retiring because of health reasons, and he wanted to leave his work to me. It's for me and Barton, basically, to continue in his work. And he had called me yesterday. He is having health issues, a heart problem. So I would appreciate everybody if you'd go and show him some love and say prayers for him, please. I don't want to see him go away, but he says that this is too much stress. There's just too much going on all the time, and he's been advised to just step down, step away, cut the stress out of his life, and take care of himself, which is what we all need to do. But this person asked me, they said, do you think we're being set up? And I said, it's possible. And I don't want to spread fear mongering and be responsible for half crackpot theories, whatever they want to call it. But the thing is, when you look at the reality, it does seem like we're being played. Like these other people had weird encounters, The one guy even had a video like he made, okay? Didn't really get a good look at it, but you didn't really get a good look at what the woman was talking about either. All you see is her freaking out, as best we could tell. Now, if anybody has any other information about that, come forward with it, please. I'd like to see it. But this other guy had a very similar video, but his didn't go viral. Why is that? Is there something to this? Is there a reason why some people's videos and information go and take off or go around the internets, and intrawebs, and other people's don't? I mean, what do you think, Anthony, Tony? I mean, what do y'all think?
I mean, I think partly it's due to like either YouTube algorithm, YouTube or TikTok, whatever platform they're on, they're gonna have certain algorithms which favor different types of videos depending on the content, the title, and each one is different. But to sum it up, to say that it's only that would be, I think, mentally lazy and short-sighted. Because if there are similar videos and only one of them happens to go viral, then there's something to that. I mean, I don't know what. I mean, maybe there's a reason for it. Maybe it's part of some kind of psyop. I mean,
yeah, who knows? Bradford Johnson, thank you for that donation. PRT for life. Josh, keep doing what you're doing, leading people to humanity's truth, at least sparking the seed for life's answers. To everyone, put your armor on. Exactly. Thank you for that donation. Thank you, Collins, Michael Spraw, Nancy Knight, everybody who's donated tonight. We appreciate it. It's always appreciated. I'll say this. I know that not every time somebody makes a video, because we get hundreds of photos and hundreds of videos and we don't even post them in the group. I can't. We can't. Yeah. We know that. What would happen if we did that?
It'd be pointless. I mean, the moment we did, we'd get a lot of good stuff said about it, but then we get a lot of more negative stuff saying, debunking it and thinking that that's what we want.
Yeah.
So we don't want that, and we're not going to try and cause controversy. So my policy is, if someone out there, you guys, if you want to have your picture seen of what you took, you go to the Paranormal Roundtable Facebook group. Go to Paranormal Roundtable Facebook group and first get on there and say, hey, I want to be a member or whatever. We'll put you on. Post the videos. We will post your videos, but we ourselves, the admins, we don't post. I don't let any of my admins post any videos or any pictures. Do I have them? Oh yeah, you better believe we do. I got a bunch. But do we repost them? No, we don't. there's a reason for that, because I'm already looked at enough as it is and told, you know, how kooky I am and whatever. And, well, that guy, he's just, well, I tell you what, he's crazy as a loon. I don't need more, okay? We have enough already. And then if I post that, even if it's just a, hey, you want to, you know, throw out theories and conjecture and postulate on it, nope. Then that means that I'm promoting it and it comes from me and that I did that, okay? And then it gets lost in translation whether or not, it doesn't matter. It's like when I made the post about Facebook, I mean, that just got, still to this day, earlier today, somebody posted something on there kind of negative, and I was like, this is ridiculous. It's, you know, you're not getting what I'm saying, so it's just better if I don't repost your pictures and your videos. So it'd be better for me, don't bother sending them to me, really. It's not going to help the situation. Yes, we can put them on the show. If you want to come on the show and you have pictures and you want to bring them on, that's fine. But your best bet is just to go to Paranormal Roundtable group, and then we'll put them on there. What do you guys think of that, right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, that way you can get your stuff out, and I won't. The only time I ever deny people's stuff is if it's something that's going to get us in trouble, possibly banned or whatever, or if it's already been like 4 or 5 people will send me the same thing, and I'm not obviously gonna spam 4 or 5 things, and then people will get upset. They'll be like, "Hey, you know, I sent you a photo, you know, and you denied it." I'm like, "Yeah, because well, I'm not the only one that looks at this, but if I do it, it's like I say, look." You know, I'm not the only one that does this, but, you know, I'll look into it. Oh, okay. Well, the reason is there are multiple people who've already posted that. And the thing from the flight was one of them. And I looked at bunches of videos of that, and I couldn't get a good video out of it at all. Yeah, the woman in the video, I agree, Dave. She never says reptilian, but, you know. One of the things that was told to me by this gentleman who had the freak out on the plane, and I don't want to say a freak. Well, no, he did say something freaked him out. Let's put it that way. And I'll tell you what it was. And I've asked this question before, and it sounds crazy. But do these creatures walk amongst us? I mean, do they? Because you get stories of, and you get pictures. I've seen some very compelling pictures, but nowadays it's so easy to fake and it's hard to know what you're looking at. And even in the last, since I've really been into this, and since 2015, I've been getting pictures and videos and stories and stuff like that. And when you go back and you look at these pictures, some of them are very compelling, trail cams, things like that. You still don't always know what you're looking at. This guy, he didn't have nothing but like a short video clip of this individual. The individual at this point moves his shoulders sort of abruptly. That's all I saw. But by the time he was videoing the guy, I was pretty sure the guy knew that he was on to him. What he saw was very much reptilian-like. When he sat down on the plane, and this happened in Pittsburgh, and he said he sat down on the plane, and the guy next to him, when he went to cough, when he opened his eyes, he on the left eye, he saw it slit up. The guy looked over for a second, and then it went, and it did it. Then he freaked out. So then when he had his phone, he lifted it up, and then he's like, he gets up to go to the restroom. When he returns, he's kind of putting the phone to video the guy. But I think at that point, the guy already knew. And you see the guy hunched over, and then he just kind of goes like this, and it was weird looking. And I do believe that me and multiple of my friends at a nightclub we used to work at had what could be something reptilian. I don't know. I've told that story on the show, and it's a very compelling story. Loki's been on the show, and he was there when it happened, and so was my brother, so was Scorpio. They can all attest that this really happened. And of course, our friend that passed away, Willie, he told you guys, and y'all know about it too. This isn't a make-believe story, you know. Collins, this community is important to me, and I'm in Texarkana near Falk. I want to start asking people for stories. I'd love to contribute investigations, whatever. Yeah, absolutely. I love this stuff so much. Beast of Boggy Creek right here. I was just on the phone with my friend Lyle today, actually, so I was like, you know what? I'm going to wear my hat. snake men's on the plane. Yeah, snakes on a plane, exactly. You know, the thing is, this is, you know, the guy sat down next to this dude. He didn't ask to be moved. Of course, he was a man. Okay. And we'll call him Harry. That's his name. That's not his name, but that's close to his name. I don't know. I didn't ask whether he wanted to be. Most people, when something like this happens, they don't want, you know. He is a businessman, and he flies in and out of Pennsylvania pretty regularly. When he was heading to Oklahoma for business in Oklahoma City, he flew in a plane with this guy. And at one point, when they get up in the sky and the plane hits like turbulence, he said this dude shook his head back and forth really fast, like it was like vibrating. He said it was unreal, like abnormally fast. And when he did, it looked like when he was shaking his head, his skin and everything changed into like a brownish color from like what it was white, but it looked like it changed. And he's like, have you ever heard of anything like that? At the time when he told me this, you know, no, I had not. Since then, yeah. Was hoping to get more weird plane stories. And I do have some. But they're not all along the lines of like seeing somebody shape-shifting. They're more like ghostly stuff. I had a couple stewardesses that reached out to me who were from Kansas, and they told me that they had a haunted airplane that they worked on for a very large company. And like I said, I shouldn't say the names of these companies because I don't want to be sued. But they mentioned that there was a ghost on one of their planes. It was not just a regular ghost either. It was very mischievous. And it could be malicious too, like grabbing people's ankles. Some of the people on the plane at different times reported seeing something or feeling something and making them feel even ill. And so, you know, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens on these planes. Yes, Ghost of Flight 401. There you go. That's a good one. Well, not good one, but that's a story. Yeah, exactly, Love Cat. Can you imagine being stuck on a plane miles up and you can't escape? Yeah, you know, I mean, I understand if you're like the wing, like I've made this joke before. There's a man on the wing of this plane. You know, the William Shatner. There's a man on the wing of this plane. Yeah, I'm scared. You know, whatever. But what if, you know, one of my cousins told me this story years ago that when he was getting on a plane, that there was a guy who was praying incessantly, and when he asked him, what religion, you know, he's like, oh, you're a Lutheran. He says, yeah. And he says, I am too. And he starts talking to the guy, and he says, why are you so? He thought he was just, you know, he was afraid because of flying. You know, people have a lot of anxiety about flying. Yeah. It's terrifying to some people, me included. I don't like to fly. I just get on there and I get smash drunk, and I wouldn't know if I saw a reptilian from a hole in the ground. And then I'm just like, right now, I'm just not even going to know. And then when I go to get off the plane, they're like, sir, can you please, you're laying on the tarmac. And, and then the security comes and I sober up real quick. Okay. Just put me in the tunnel. I got to go. Let's go and get out of here.
I don't know. It seemed like it'd actually be liberating to know, like, well, there's nothing I can do. This plane's going down. I'm going to die. Like, because the fear comes from like...
The anticipation?
Well, no, I mean, like...
The unexpected?
The fear comes from, like, well, I have a chance to survive this, so what do I do? But if a plane's going down, it's like, well...
Yeah, you might die.
I'm just here, man. I guess this is it. You know, like, there's no point freaking out, because I'm going to die either way. Take it easy.
I guess you give up easily, but I don't believe in that, so I
would hang on to someone and then at the last minute turn them so that you can cushion your fall.
I'll just take a cat with me. I know they always land on their feet.
Oh, and so you can do that, but you can't do all your push-ups.
Exactly. No. Okay, what happened to that? Yeah, exactly. Luckily you're sick. So 86 says rakes on a plane.
Rakes? Oh, God.
That would be horrible.
Yeah, exactly. 86. We're talking about rakes on a plane. I'm tired of these rakes on a plane. Sick of it. It's done. But, you know, it's crazy, though, when my cousin, he said he talked to this guy, and now get this is what he told him. What he told him was weird. He says, dude, I'm trying to outrun a demon. And if I'm up here in the sky, he doesn't know where I'm at. That, and so he just kept an eye on the guy. The guy, he eventually went to sleep. He woke up and he was back in Texas. And the guy, he don't know what happened to him. But, I mean, he was telling us this. And I was like, what did you do? I mean, he was just like, he goes, I just went to sleep. I just had a few drinks and, and I don't drink that much. But if I'm on a plane, I might drink just because I don't want to be up there. I don't like flying, but I will if I have to. It's like everything else. I take life the way it comes. If it happens, it happens. It is what it is, But what's really crazy, though, this guy was up in this plane going to Oklahoma City, and when this guy's head began to move back and forth, up and down in all kinds of ways, the guy's head turned from one side to the other, like just really, really weird, like boom, boom, This individual, Harry told me, he says, dude, I didn't know what to think, dude. He goes, I didn't really get a good look at his eyes again to where I saw it happening again. But then he goes, the guy was asleep, and then he just decided to start twisting his head and shaking it all over the place, and then he stopped. He's like, but then I saw him, and when we were getting off and, we're at the airport, our plane lands, and he goes, and I'm getting ready to go get picked up and go to a, because he was there for a convention or whatever. He sees this guy, and he goes to get into the Uber. He was like obviously getting picked up by somebody he's got in the back seat. That's what made him think that. And he says as he walked by him, the guy looked, just stared at him, That's creepy. That's freaky. I would be like, dude, what's your deal, But I asked him, I said, do you feel like he was not normal human? I mean, are you sure of this? I mean, he says, yeah, I'm positive. Absolutely positive that he was some sort of reptoid. And you're starting to hear more and more stories like this. They're coming out everywhere. I have people telling me, one lady just gave me a story just like last week. It was a very compelling story. And, this is a Dogman story, if you want to call it Dogman. I don't know what you would call it. But you know how we talked about these things coming out of wells? Here's another one. They purchased some land, and this was up in Montana. And it was like a very desolate place. And this was back in the 80s when she was a child. She's about 4 years older than me, or let's see. I just realized I'm about to turn 48. So 51. I'm not. Thank goodness I'm not in my 50s yet. I'm not one of them old people. I'm still hanging out with the young folks, man, right? Yeah. Roller skating. What are you young people doing these days? Yeah, whatever that is, I'm into it, man. I'm telling you. That's what I do. I hang out with the young kids.
Are you hip and jive?
I'm hip, man. I hang out with the 20s and somethings.
He's wearing jean coat pants.
I do. I wear skinny jeans, and I do other types of ill stuff.
You're gonna get your tips frosted on your hair.
Exactly. I'm fighting it. Folks, though, I can tell. I don't have hardly any grays. I'm not coloring it. It's just, that's, thank God. But, my Uncle Sal, he didn't have gray hair. He's not related to me, but look at him. He didn't turn gray until he was 70. Yeah. My Uncle Jaime didn't turn gray until this in the last few years. He's like in his late 60s. So, I mean, it's, maybe I'll be lucky and I won't turn gray for a long time. But that aside, what's crazy though is she says, it was back in the 80s and I was a child. And she's like, we bought a property that already had a house on it, but my parents decided to build a house next to it. And she said that we were building the new house and we began to have weird stuff happening. Weird stuff, like when the land gets disturbed or if a house gets remodeled, sometimes weird things happen. And it was weird. First, she saw what she thought looked like a woman dressed like in a pink dress that was showing up, that was just walking around the property, and she would look like she was lost, like she would look out of her window, and she would see this woman just walking around, but she had this look on her face, like, it conjures up images of somebody that's just like, but because she said she looked zombified. But, you know, there's different ways of zombie-ness, okay? There's people that walk around the mall going, I saw one yesterday that was just right next to me, just mouth breathing as hard as he could, just right. And I'm just like, get off me, dude. You know, like, don't touch me, dude. Like, he bumped into me and he was just like, you know, and I was like, not feeling it. I was just like, dude. And you and Nelly were at that store. And I was like sitting there going, I wish I would come over here. So this, you know, y'all could take up the space on either side of me, and then have to have some weird dude stand next to me. And
they always get too close out too. Like they don't understand.
They get too close. What are they doing, man?
They don't understand personal space
like
at all.
Dave Chappelle on Making the Band. You get too close, man. Too close. And start choking people. I'm joking. I'm just kidding.
Dylon,
and Dylon. The point is, the guy, that's the image that it conjured up, was like this zombie, you know? So I asked her, I said, did this woman look like an actual zombie, like a literal zombie? Because I've talked about this on my show. They're zombies. It's a real thing. Somebody corrected me about the Eastern European. They were like, oh, there's a difference between zombies and vampires. Really? Not really, because in Eastern Europe, especially in Moldavia, Romania, Hungary, not really. The zombies are sort of like just, you know, the vampires are like these bloated corpses. We talked about it when David Weatherly was on the show.
I mean, undead is undead, right?
Earlier, but yeah, undead, right? Undead is undead. Well, here's the thing, folks, for my own, whatever, I got to take an Altoid. People get mad when I put stuff in my mouth. I'm sorry, I apologize, but here we go. But this house that they had, this woman was wandering around in the outside. Now, thank goodness, as a child, she would see her outside, but not inside. But she said she didn't look like menacing, you know? She just looked like she was there. But here's what's really creepy. Well, before I tell you that part, let me tell you this. There's a well, right? A lot of times when you build a house out in the middle of nowhere, you have to have a well for water. Just what happens. We had a well when I was a child in one of the places we lived. First 15, almost 16 years of my life, I lived in the sticks. We always lived out in the country, either on the edge of town or way out in the sticks. And this woman, I call her Shirley, she was very terrified in her own house. She saw like a greenish orb float, you know, from the front door all the way to the back of that old house. Her older sister and her younger brother saw it too. It's crazy. And so she had all these things happen, you know, that were like paranormal, but she didn't see any full-bodied apparitions other than outside. Now, she didn't know a whole lot about the people that lived there before. They were already gone, and they had to do a lot of work to fix that place up to make it livable. And then their parents set about the task of building the house next door to that became their permanent home for 20 years. And so whenever they began building the house, they started to get a nighttime visitor. And this isn't to be funny either. This is serious. They started to find what looked like large piles of animal feces. Animal feces on the back porch, you know, where they were building, they had a porch and then there was like a deck. And then on the front, and then inside the building, and urine, lots of urine. And the dad was like, I don't know what this is. It doesn't look like elk or deer or anything like that. And one of the things that they noticed was that there were weird footprints, paw prints, with the claws out. Dad's friend comes over. He's an avid hunter. He said, these are wolf tracks. His dad's friend was half Native American. And he said, and these aren't normal wolf tracks. These are bipedal. Whenever they decided to stay up one night and see if they could catch whatever was going in there, because it began to do damage to the building, not just with the pooping and peeing, but tearing out, you know, 2x4s and things like that. and even went so far as to destroy the plumbing. They thought, okay, somebody's messing with us. And then her dad was still convinced that it was a human being or a group of human beings, and they had like dogs. He wasn't of the opinion that it was a bipedal wolf creature. Now, I don't know if the dad like really understood, like, you know, at that point, like we don't know exactly when he became full on, hey, you know, but he was cognizant enough to say, hey, you know, this isn't normal. We're dealing with something that's not normal. His friend, who was actually from Wyoming, which is where they came from, said, hey, you're really going to have to, you know, we're going to need some help here. And he was from the Wind River Reservation. And he said, we need to go and get a medicine man to help us. Well, the first night that they were out there, they saw something. There were two large wells, one that looked like it had been boarded up and covered over a long time ago, and then one that was like a fresh one that they used. The one that had been boarded up, whatever, there was a hole or a tunnel next to that one, and they never did figure out what it was about, why that was there, but they threw a bunch of dirt into it. My opinion, and this is just me, I think it triggered something. Whatever was in that hole decided to not be happy with what they did. They're disturbing the land. Whatever was in that hole lived down in that hole and probably came out of that hole. That's my opinion. When they went out of town for a brief time to go and pick up a bunch of supplies or whatever, they come back, the whole freaking structure had been damaged to the point where it set them back like 2 months. And her dad became discouraged. They brought the medicine man in. He says, your land is built literally like on a nexus. That's not the words he used, but he described it as a nexus. Like it is an interchange of weird species. And he didn't want to go into it because he knows that a typical, you know, according to him, a typical white man's not going to understand or believe him. And he said, I'll put it in layman terms that they can understand. He's like, you have, you know, visitors that are coming out of those holes. You've covered up one of their exits from their realm into ours, which means that they were some sort of underground species, something that comes from within the earth, something that we've talked about on the show multiple times. These creatures, whatever they are, he's like, they're wolf-like. Now, through his friend, he had heard of a skinwalker, because when his friend saw the bipedal, you know, he says, hey, this is a shapeshifter. It's an evil medicine man that moves around, you know, and can take form. The elder said he didn't believe that's what it was. He said, these are a species that live in the earth, but they were way back in time, according to him and what he told this woman's dad, they were created by a really, really powerful medicine man. Now, that's his interpretation of it, and we can get into some theories after this, but what Shirley told me was that her dad was just like, I don't believe any of this. It is a group of guys that are trying to run us off of our land, and they're bringing their dogs. He stays up late one night. Sure enough, they see a light kind of come up from the hole, or close to where the hole was. They see another one come out of the woods. And he's like, what are these lights? Next thing you know, the lights are like, whoosh, they're out. And he hears something moving and running, coming through the tall grass on the edge of their property. Eventually, they get up to the house, and he can't believe what he sees. He's looking at werewolves, what looks like just a traditional werewolf. I mean, it looked like a half man, half wolf type creature walking on its hind legs. He said they weren't overly large. They were about 6.5 foot tall. You know, we get reports of them 7.5, 8 foot tall down here typically, right, Anthony?
Oh yeah.
Is that the
easily?
That's easily the standard. But he said there were 3 of them, and they came from all different directions. But he only saw 2 balls of light. And eventually, these things, I mean, you've heard these kind of stories before. You're not new to this. You're all paratrooper veterans, whatever. They go to the house. He says they're sitting there on the edge of their house, like on the side of it, on the edge of their property, and they're looking at this. Bradford Johnson says, can you guys bring back some more polling? Pretty cool for data of where people can anonymously vote. See what people are thinking. Who doesn't like to vote between Dogman and Reptoid Deathmatch? Dogman, Reptoid Deathmatch. All right. We do have a show that we've already pre-recorded, and it's going to come out in a couple weeks. And we titled, I don't know if we titled it, the tentative title is Cryptid Wars, because it is weird, and it is like conflict between, these creatures. But anyway, these creatures, he's like, her dad was like, I'm shocked. I was looking at these creatures. They look just like skinny werewolves with big heads. He said that they go into the house, and he's like, and at that point, I took a shot at one of them, and he was almost positive that he hit it. And he said that all it did was kind of turn like in a complete circle and then kind of flop back and then take off. The other 2 just kind of came and they were staring in his direction. And at that point, he was like, what am I seeing here? What is this? And he's like, I was terrified to take another shot, because he goes, the one that I shot looked like it just ran, and then I could hear it coming like it was flanking us. Very weird. Very weird. The next day, like they stayed up all night. Next day, daylight, they go over there and they look, and they're just like, they're stunned. Like, these creatures, like, what are these things? And he was forced to kind of, maybe this guy's tribal medicine man was correct. Maybe that's what they are. I don't know what they are. I don't know if they come from the inner earth, or if they're shape-shifting, or if they're both. I don't know. There's different types, different kinds. People ask that question all the time. What are they? I don't know. But the fact of the matter was that they were on that property. Now, as a little girl, she said that it was shocking to her to hear her dad telling her mama, hey, I saw werewolves last night. They were walking onto the property. They exist. They're real. This is real. They stopped building. They stopped it. They went to their preacher, told him about it. He goes out there and he walks around the property and he prays with them. He was a very honest and devout, Christian. And the medicine man came out, said some prayers, whatever. They both threw salt everywhere, and they did what they did. About a week goes by, there's no activity. She's a little girl, right? She's a little kid. The dad and 2 of his friends are now sleeping in the house. Her uncle staying up on the other side with them, watching from the back porch, terrified, worried. Are we going to make it through another night? Every day it's the same thing. These creatures didn't come back for about a week. It's about time, She said she wakes up. She hears a scratching at her window. And she's like, it was like something was forcing me to get up and go to the window. She's like, I didn't want to do it. And my sister, she was like, don't do it. What are you doing? And she opened the blinds or curtain, whatever. And there, not standing right up against it, but several feet back, was one of these wolf creatures just looking at her. And she's like, doesn't Daddy and Wayne and his friends, basically, and her uncle, don't they see this creature? How is this creature standing right here between our houses? How do they not know that it's there? And this thing was looking at her, and it basically did like a form of telepathy. Let's just call it what it is. A lot of people call it mind speak, but it's just telepathy. They can talk to you through your mind. And they use images sometimes to speak too, kind of like aliens do. Demons, whatever. And it told her, it was like, leave. We don't want you here. She freaked out, couldn't sleep the rest of the night. The next day, she's like, I was trying to go to sleep the next night. I couldn't sleep all day, all night. I just was up all day, all night. She's like, all I did was just sit there and like, you know, toss and turn, middle of summer. She's like, it was the scariest summer of my life. I was a child. And she's like, I was terrified. She's like, we all started sleeping in one room. She's like, I wake up, have to go to the restroom. So I had to go walk down the hallway, the other side of the house, and there was a window there in the bathroom. She's like, I walk into the bathroom. There's nothing there that can block this thing from, it's just, there's no curtain, nothing. She's like, I hated being in there. I hated it. She's like, I go to the toilet, I look up, and there's this creature looking down at me. She's like, I was horrified. Didn't know what I was going to do. She's like, I sat there for what felt like an hour, not looking up, just crying, head in my hands. And she's like, and then I heard the tapping on the window. It was terror. Literally being terrorized, told to leave. She goes and she runs out of there. She said, I finally got the courage to just get up and run. She's like, I jumped back in the bed. And then she had a dream when she finally did go to sleep. And in the dream, one of these creatures approached her and told them that it was going to kill them all if they didn't leave. They had already gotten rid of their pets. They didn't have any more dogs. The dogs had 3 dogs. They were all gone. 2 cats gone. Took all their whatever. Ultimately, they just kept praying. And every day they prayed. They hired some people to come and close off the holes. There were 3 holes they found going around the property. And they covered them up. They doubled down. Said some prayers. And they just decided they weren't going to leave. One day, her dad was out near the edge of the woods with his friends. They were walking the property line. And they run across 2 guys that are sitting out in the middle of the woods with no shirts, nothing. Guy tells them, you know, this is private property. We own this land. What are you doing out here, you know? And he's like, well, your property line runs up to this point right here, and I'm on this side of it. He goes, yeah. I've seen you lurking around my property. And the guy was like, you know, what do you mean? He's like, because the dad was convinced that these were, he's like, the dad was convinced that these men were these wolf creatures. He's like, I don't know how I knew that. He's like, it was like something in me told me these are the men responsible for this. Well, here's what happened. It was a very weird encounter. He confronted them, and the men seemed nervous. And why are you out here in the middle of nowhere? Why are you making camp on the edge of my property? The people that own the property right adjacent to theirs, they would only come 2 or 3 times a year. And he told the guy that owned it, hey, man, you got squatters. One of them came up to the house, says, hey, I just want to talk. He put his hands up. She said, I'll never forget this. My daddy went out there to talk to this man. And he says, we want peace. We don't want problems with you. Dad said, well, if you are who I think you are, it's a little late for all that. And he's like, I believed that you were you guys were just bringing dogs up here to harass us. And the guy says, I'm going to be real honest with you. He's like, we've been living out here for years in these woods. We are not your enemy. Yes, we squat out in these woods. We've been living out here for a long time. We got ran off our property a long time ago. He's like, but the only way you're going to make peace with those creatures, he goes, they're not us. That's not us. We're not doing this. And he's like, well, what are they? He's like, they're werewolves, right? He goes, I don't know what they are. He's like, very interesting thing, though. He said that if they attack you, they do this weird sort of like ritual thing. Really, it happens really fast. This is what the guy told him. This is not my belief. This is what her father was told by one of these men. He said it happens really quickly, and there's like this weird green mist that comes out of their mouths. They can turn you into one of them. And he's like, how do you know this? He said, my brother is one of them. Then they take you down into the ground, and you become one of them. He's like, that's why they don't mess with us. My brother is one of them, and has been for years. He's like, I don't know that they ever become human again. And I don't know if they're originally human. Yeah, very, very weird. And I'm looking straight at the camera. I'm not blinking my eyes. I'm telling you what was told to me. And I just blinked my eyes right after I said that because they began to burn. But I'm being as serious as a heart attack. He made friends with that guy. And ever so often, his mother would give him food. Don't know what he did with it. But the creatures left him alone. But then one night, when she was in her late teens, they had the house built, whatever. She was watching one of these things come out of the well. I told her the story. She didn't know it. I told this story on another man's show. And Anthony, you know about this because you know the guy that it happened to. And we nicknamed it, we dubbed it, Werewolf Church. It's a place out here in Central Texas. I've taken several people out there. It's now being used as a church again, so I don't think it's appropriate that I tell anybody so they go tromping around out there. But I had a crazy experience out there when my wife first came. And I had to take a leak. And I know this has happened to Brian Bowden. He's a very good friend of mine. He's a good researcher, and Al Santoriga. And it also happened to D.A. Roberts and Nick Valenti. And there was even some sort of conflict there because Bowden thought that he was, retelling his story. He wasn't. He was telling his own story of what happened to him. Because I explained to both these gentlemen, I was like, it's happened to me. I got out to take a leak. Excuse my language. I'm not trying to be crude or rude. But something came crashing through the brush. And I was about 1.5 miles, 2 miles up the road from there. I don't know what it was. Could have been a Sasquatch, could have been a werewolf, could have been a Dogman. I don't know what it was. What's so weird about this is that this isn't like the first time or the only time that we've gotten reports of these creatures. People feel okay talking to us, I guess, because we're willing to listen. So many of these Dogman people, they don't want to listen. They want to talk about werewolves or not dogmen, and dogmen are not werewolves, and they're not this, and they're all separate, and they're all this, and they're all that, and blah, 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 with a wolf ball bat. I don't know. There's all this infighting about what they are and who they are, where they come from. But when you go down then I don't want to keep saying this word because I'm getting sick of hearing the rabbit hole. I'm sick of hearing boots on the ground. I'm hearing all these different sayings. I'm getting sick of hearing them all the time. But when you go down that spiral, you start to see there's a pattern to these things. But then every time you feel like you've gotten closer to something, then something else comes up. I told Shirley, I said, the guy that used to work for me had an encounter where these things came up out of a well. That well has now been capped over with metal. A huge metal thing has capped that well. Why they felt the need to go so excessive, it's anyone's guess. I think I know. But she saw these things come up out of the well. It was no longer in use. And she's like, it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen in my life. She's like, they came out, they ran around, they did what they did. One of them looked like he was kind of injured, like he was hopping around, like he couldn't walk good. And she remembered that man talking to her dad, and her dad, just to the day he died, he didn't know what it was. He just said, we have to learn to coexist. If they don't mess with us, we don't mess with them. They couldn't keep dogs. That was a problem. Please, folks, if you're tuning in, smash the like button. It really helps. It goes a long ways to helping the channel. So give me your ideas and thoughts on what you think of that. I don't know what it was, but I'm open to suggestions or anybody's opinions. Dave Howell, yeah, I agree. Everyone is probably both right and wrong. Everybody's wanting to be right, but when you're dealing with such a weird phenomena, what is right, what is wrong? It's so bizarre.
Well, thankfully, we're always right. So,
yeah. Come to Paranormal Roundtable where we're always right, even when we're wrong. We can be wrong as...
We're only wrong because you haven't caught up yet.
50% of the time, we're right every time.
That should be our new moniker.
I did have a thought, though. Like, what if these things don't necessarily live underground?
I'm just joking. Go ahead.
But what if their interdimensional portals exist, like in caverns underground? Because like they may not have like an actual, what's it called, like habitation deep underground. And they might, but if we think about it on a deeper level, maybe that's just where their interdimensional portals are, and for some reason they have to be in caverns. They have to be underground. Maybe there are some sort of energies that exist there that allow them to go between our world and theirs.
If you think of it like
that's interesting.
This, where these portals, you can't just use them whenever you want. You can't just travel through them. That they have to be like set up in a certain way. Then you can't just have them set up above ground where someone can just stumble across it. And if you're expecting traffic to go through it in and out that area, then you'd want somewhere kind of secluded where, there's no chance of people coming across it. What better would that be than underground, way deep, where no one's going to go there? And then you can build a whole portal, have people come in and out, do all kinds of stuff, and not worried about, coming across some random person and then having them alert people about it.
That too, but I was thinking like more along the lines of maybe certain atmospheric conditions have to be met in order for these portals to materialize. Because I mean, it can't just be as simple as like I'm from another dimension or vibrational plane. Yes. And I can just appear whenever I want, wherever I want. There are still laws on every plane of existence that have to be followed.
Yeah, and if it was like that too, you just get so much traffic that it wouldn't be a paranormal thing.
Well, yeah. Also, think about what his buddy's medicine man told him from his tribe. And I didn't get what tribe it was. Wind River is either Shoshone or Arapaho, so I don't know which one he is. But if you think about it, he said that it was like her words, and she said this. She said he didn't say it, but she said it was like a highway underneath there, like an interchange, like a nexus.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, what could be going on there? There could be more going on than just that.
It could be a whole world going on down there. I mean, we have absolutely no idea, really, unless we figure out a way to look that deep underground and actually are able to show that science.
I'm gonna tell you the rest of the story now. There's a little bit more to this. The creepy thing, and it's not like this isn't already creepy, okay? But a really scary sidelight to this was when she moved into the new house, the woman in pink had never appeared to her. never appeared to her in her old house. But in the new house, she woke up one day. She was 17 years old. She's like, I wake up and I hear a woman scream, and I hear a growling, snarling sound. She's like, and I look. Now this is kind of graphic, folks. So if you're not, if you don't want to hear something that may be disturbing, she opened her eyes and she witnessed this woman laying in an open field. This was in her house, but it was like it was an open field. And one of these creatures, these werewolf-like creatures, was biting her. And when she turned her face to the side, she saw the whole side of her face and her body had been torn up. And what she thought was a pink dress was soaked in blood. And it had just, like, it had turned it, like, was red. It looked pink. So I asked her about that, and I said, Shirley, what do you think that was? And I wanted her opinion and what I think. But she said the same thing I was thinking, that one of these creatures killed the woman right there where they were building that house. And maybe that woman was somebody that once lived there. And her spirit was just kind of wandering around. Sad to think about. Scary to think about. I don't know. Buck Norris says, in our mythos, we got Buckwaz, the king of the ghosts. Lost people who take his offering end up in the underworld, and they become a wild man of the woods. He is a rotten man with antlers. Ooh, what is your heritage, Buck? That sounds very creepy. It goes back to the whole thing with the Fae, too. I don't like talking about them too much, but there are certain times when they come up. I had someone asking me about a book that was considered to be unholy. Please don't go and don't buy this book or do anything. My eyes are burning so bad. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. This is what I'm going to tell you. There is a book. It's a book of forbidden knowledge. It's a Middle Eastern book. Yeah, you guys can talk to the audience for a minute here. I'm going to look this up to make sure.
Audience, how are you?
Talk about.
But I think I know we've spoken about that book before, and
So Buck Norris answered your question. He said, if I can pronounce it right, he said, Namgis,
well, that's wrong.
or whatever it is. Namgis, a branch of Quaiquetal on Vancouver Island. It sounds like some kind of like indigenous.
So he's from the far
people.
northwest. Yeah. So the name of this book is called, and they say that you shouldn't even own a copy of this book. It's not even something that you should do. But somebody was asking me on the show the other day, and they were like, "What's it called?" Because they wanted to tell somebody about it. It's called the Shams al-Marif. I'm not even going to spell it for you. It's a book. The knowledge that's within the book is said to be guarded by elves. I'm going to tell you something. We're not talking about little chubby little Christmas elves that help Santa Claus and his jolly self, No. These aren't the kind of elves that I'm talking about. These elves will kill you, and they're very, very evil. They guard that knowledge. So even owning a digital copy of the Shams al-Marif would be a very big mistake. So I'm telling you and I'm warning you, don't do it. Okay? But the knowledge that's contained within is protected by them. It doesn't say it's protected by demons or the jinn. It says elves. And I do believe that the Unseelie Court is a real thing. I even know a person who was captive, taken by these things. She's from Ireland, Northern Ireland. Claims to have been playing in a fairy circle as a child. Starscream, knock it off. Then don't come to my conference, Scream, all right? Don't even, you know. Man, you tripping, Starscream. Don't be doing that. The thing is, the book is it contains things that you shouldn't be messing with, and I'm going to tell you that right now. Some people had already looked it up and were like, "Oh, I found it." I'm giving you the warning right now to please avoid that book. But the point is that these creatures, these elves, these fairies, fae, whatever, there's all these different names for them, goblins, trolls, whatever. They are real. And I'm sitting here, I'm at risk of looking like a crazy person. I'm telling you the truth. And they can do horrible damage to you. And they do live in neighborhoods. Like, they're over here, these werewolf creatures are over here. And it talks about that too, when you go down and you look into the hadiths of Islam, they talk about it as the jinn, and they have neighbors.
Yeah, every living thing has territory. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it works.
In the Bible, that talks about unicorns. Mm-hmm. What are they? But there are a lot of different stories about these creatures and about these entities and about what they are. We don't know. We really don't know. When you eventually come to the realization that we are surrounded by these beings, and like we said before, they exist a right angle to a right angle, then you start to go, okay, now I know. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I don't have all the answers, and I get slammed in the comments all the time for whatever little thing I say or do that's not exactly what someone else believes. I was reading comments today, somebody saying something about how I don't know anything about the Bible and all this other stuff. Okay, I'm not here to get into a contest of who's most smartest of them all in the entire world, okay? You are, dude, okay? You're the smartest guy that's ever lived in the whole world's universe, whatever. That's why you breathe through your mouth. But the point is when I go on and I tell you these things, I'm actually telling you because I want you to be safe. I tell these people, hey, I'm going to retell your story, but then it takes a while to get to that. But I want to keep my word to these people and tell them, hey, you know what? I'm going to get to it. I'm going to tell it. And I did. And that one in particular was one that I really wanted to touch on. But I will say this. There is a whole nother world below your feet that goes on, whether you want it to or not, whether you want it to exist or not. They are the others. They're there. They exist. And there's nothing. Rethink Inc. Elves in an Arabic book. That seems odd. Why? Why does that seem odd to you? I'm not being snarky. I'm just asking. We lived in a haunted house, lots of paranormal activity. My grandsons used to say that they were scared of the little monsters in their closet. Yeah, because they're there. I've gotten story upon story. Right around St. Patrick's Day every year, I get at least 2 stories. I could do a whole show on leprechauns. People say they saw something that looked just like a leprechaun. I'm going to tell you something. I'm not joking, and this isn't funny, haha. I'm not trying to crack a joke here, but I saw a guy that looked like a freak. He could have been a leprechaun. He looked like a leprechaun. We were at Academy. Mm-hmm. I went in there to get some sleeves for the whole guns or whatever, and buying them for a friend. Just kidding. But anyway, I was in there, and this guy comes out of the restroom, and he couldn't have even been 5 foot tall, and he had red hair, red curly hair on top with the sideburns and the little beard, and the little red nose. I mean, he looked like a leprechaun. And I told Nellie, I said, I just saw a leprechaun. I mean, I'm hoping, I'm pretty sure it was a real person, but he could literally have been from Munchkin Land. And and I mean, he was a little leprechaun looking dude. And what's odd though about that was the day before I had just gotten a story from a lady who told me that her and her husband and their children had been terrorized by a little entity. She called it an imp, but I think that's something a little different. It was never black. It never had any kind of shadow to it or anything like that. It just looked like a little Lucky Charms magical little leprechaun dude. And it was almost like the way the guy just kept staring at me. What's odd about the thing in Academy was, I saw him coming out of what I guess was the restroom next to the men's restroom. He wasn't coming out of the men's restroom. But I didn't see any other door. I don't know where he came from, unless he was coming from the woman's restroom, and clearly he shouldn't have been in the woman's restroom. So I don't know, in that particular store, I don't know where he was coming from. Dub 45, no.
Best case scenario, he was just a pervert.
Oh, God. Dub 45 says, should have captured him. He'll give you gold. No, I don't want to do that because that's not actually what happens. They actually will do all kinds of horrible things to you.
Yeah, haven't you seen those leprechaun movies?
I've never actually seen those.
Oh, man. He's a horrible little
they're terrible
creature.
I mean, they're not nice beings. They're terrible.
I used to watch I watched all those movies when I was a kid. I loved those movies, but I hated him so much. He was so grotesque and evil.
He went everywhere, too.
I want me gold. Huh? Yeah, you've seen him, right?
I've seen a couple.
Well, it's like that movie Jin. What's it? With
Leprechaun in the Hood's hilarious. Though.
That's what I was. He just goes everywhere. He just goes and does what he does.
Yeah.
It's murder.
Have you ever seen that movie about the Jin? That it's like he gives you a wishmaster.
Wishman, yeah. I saw you
Like,
guys
what
watching.
is your wish? And whatever you tell it, he does something terrible.
Yeah, he's in a and the actor that got to play him too was just perfect because
he did that little.
his face is so insidious.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Like when he goes to jail. When he goes to prison, good gosh, I saw that one. That one was enough for me. I was like, I don't need to see this. But I'm not a big horror movie guy. I mean, I always liked like Creature from the Black Lagoon. I thought that was that was like my favorite one as a kid. I don't know why that one was like always stuck with me. I liked that one. I didn't like the Wolfman. I thought he looked goofy.
Nelly's
I was not
a big
really
horror.
into werewolves as a kid or vampires much. That wasn't really my thing. But I just, I saw The Howling. It scared the crap out of me, and I was just like, I'm gonna stay away from that. And I saw Lost Boys. I thought it was cool. I don't remember like any of the other like monster movies. Really, I didn't really into Frankenstein's monster or zombies, anything like that. It wasn't really my thing.
What about Clowns from Outer Space?
I saw that, but it was
true horror movie.
because Keith told me to watch it with him or whatever. With me and some friends when we were young.
That was a disturbing movie because they weren't just like
They were
clowns.
weird.
They were like 8 feet tall.
They were little monster
like
clowns.
drinking
They were
people, weren't
giants.
they?
Yeah.
They would
Really creepy.
spin people into like these like cotton candy cocoons, and then they would put like straws in them and just like drink them.
Crystal J has a very good comment there. She says, Rothian Fairmoon, I guess she was addressing another person. I just wanted to know how, with all these black magic books ever created, how did they get their content? How do you think they got their content?
Did you see Rebecca Oliver's comment?
What did
said,
she say?
I knew a woman in the 1990s who saw elves at her office on B Caves Road.
Oh, yeah. Yep. My mother had her in encounters with them, and we were, she told you about it.
Yeah, Nina Sinclair says a friend of mine here in Manitoba used to deliver very early in the morning newspapers. She said she saw elves and all kinds of weird things from at 4:30 to 6.
Yeah. Dub 45. Yeah, me too. I like 80s movies. We watch those, me and Nelly, sometimes. We're really into them. B Caves is a weird. You're right, Sharon. B Caves is a weird place.
My mom's boyfriend is a cop over
Yeah,
there.
he's a cop over there. And there used to be a police officer, and I've said this before, who used to come by and talk to me when I was working security out there, and we'd shoot the breeze. And, there wasn't a whole lot going on in B Caves. He'd be the only cop on duty, and we just shoot the breeze, and he'd go and grab me food and stuff, and became good friends. Stayed friends for years, and we kind of lost touch over the last 10. I don't know what happened to him, but he was real adamant that cemetery right there where I was at, where the lady in white was there, and that he had seen her, that it was haunted. I was always like, I was sitting there trying to watch the the ALCS, and this was, I think, the Red Sox and the Tigers. I mean, I think that's who was playing. I'm not for sure, but anyway, I was sitting there trying to watch it, and I just kept looking over, thinking, I kept looking over. I think it was because I think I had bet what's his face, my barber,
Ryan.
Ryan. I had a bet with him about who was going to win or whatever. But I kept looking over, and I was like, dude, because I mean, there's a police officer comes and tells you he's seen it, and like I didn't see it though. I didn't see anything. I thought I saw a white flash one time go by my truck, but that was it. But we've all seen that, because every holy book on earth tells you to stay out of running around at night. You're not supposed to.
That's literally our job.
Yeah, but it's our job. We were talking with Mo about that the other day. But my tia was always like, nothing good ever happens at night. After midnight, you should be at home in bed. That's it. She's like, you shouldn't even be out at night. Nothing good happens after midnight. She used to tell me. Bradford Johnson, how do I do the member? What is that? What are you talking about?
I think he's talking
about becoming a member. Which,
okay.
Which, by the way, thank you, Fistful of Groovy, for becoming a member.
And trust in Jesus.
If you look down at where you see the subscribe button, there should be like a button next to it that says join. You click that, and that'll take you to the screen to become a YouTube member.
So we are backed up on stories, and I did go over a couple of maybe 3 or 4 different categories. So I have them ready to go if you need to hear them. What would you like to hear? Because we are telling paranormal stories. I have a really good ghost story I can tell you. We have a really good, I don't say it's a really good reptilian story, but it's very similar. I was going through some of Albert Rosales' reports because he had them on Facebook, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. Albert is a good guy. I need to sit down and do a pre-record with him, but with the conference fast approaching, I don't really know what to say.
And you being sick as well.
Yeah, me being sick is kind of a hassle. But I would like to go over a reptilian report, but I have a really good ghost story too. Ghost animals? Oh yeah, we got those too.
Oh, actually, I think I have one of those as well.
So if anybody wants to throw something out there. Ghost story. Marion says ghost story. Dinah Russo says tell both stories. Well, I don't know. I don't know if we have time for all that. Yeah. I don't remember. But you know who does? Pepperidge Farm. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you remember that time you hit that guy when he was riding his bike and you just took off?
I remember.
You don't remember that? We do. We remember. Maybe you buy some of these cookies and we just call it even. We don't tattle on you.
I remember.
Then I turn into a leprechaun. I'm going to tell on you anyway. Because that's what we do. It says, I had sleep paralysis once. It was definitely real. Yeah, sleep paralysis is scary. Desert terror birds. Okay, Katie7, I actually did you a favor. I actually looked into that on your desert terror bird stories, and I didn't find squat. I'm joking. Actually, no, I did. Now, I don't know if this is correct or not, Katie7, but are you referring to large birds that look prehistoric, that run around on 2 legs, that are said to exist up in the Andes in the high desert? Is that what you're talking about? Like at the foot of the Andes, there's like this really dry climate, and they're said to exist like in Peru, because I did find some stuff like that. Okay, I said yes, like on Mysterious Island. Okay. Because I have to do a little more research on that, but until I get somebody sending me a story, and maybe now, after several thousand people watch this, then somebody will send me something based on that, and I can tell you a story about that. Cryptid birds are interesting. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. What is this thing where people don't believe that birds are real? Have you seen that?
Birds aren't real. I've never seen one.
Wow. Okay, you know what
I have 2 parakeets, by the way.
Yeah, they're not parakeets. You don't even know what you have. Oh. They're cockatiels,
yeah.
Dude. What are you talking about? This guy doesn't even know that he owns cockatiels. You even named him Leo. You don't even know what he is?
He's my bird.
Wow. Somebody says I have a cousin in Iceland. Oh yeah, they're very much. They speak good. She speaks good. Yes, please get her in touch with me. Giant frogs. Yeah, I got stories about giant frogs. We're getting ready to do one on giant snakes. I didn't know because there were so many stories we have about giant snakes. So I just thought, you know what, this might make sense. We'll do one on giant snakes. You have spies in your own home. What?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that birds aren't real. It's just some hoax, like some kids trying to get attention.
They're taking over the world.
Outlaw SCP. Oh, pigeons are FBI cameras, apparently. Roxy Starscream.
Corley says, I don't like snakes. Well, most people don't. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't. But there are some people who do. Like my friend Morgan. She's Morgan Knudsen. She's a big snake person.
I don't hate snakes.
You don't hate snakes? That's all you have to say?
Well, a friend of mine, a neighbor, he had snakes in his house. So when I'd go over there all the time, he'd always just take them out, and then we'd be sitting around, holding them and stuff on the couch, just watching TV. So like, there's certain ones that I can't hate, but
Sharon says brown recluse spiders in San Antonio is terrifying. We got them here in Austin.
We got so many of them.
They're everywhere. We've killed like a bunch of them this summer.
You can't escape them.
It wasn't that bad in the spring, but this summer has just been terrible. We can't even go to our vehicles. Go ahead.
I was gonna say there's all kinds of insects. We got cicadas just flowing everywhere, and like stepping on their corpses is just absolutely horrifying.
Are you getting the spiders on your vehicle every time?
Yeah.
Every time I go out,
spider webs everywhere.
Yeah.
And we also got those weird little brown bugs just rolling around.
They're everywhere, dude. Everything. It's just terrible. They're all over the freaking place. I had some hats that I left out in the garage, and Anthony brought one in, and it had spider eggs all over it, dude. Yeah, man. I was like, man, you gotta be kidding me, dude. The giants under the island of Malta is an awesome one. Are you talking about Malta, Joe? Because Malta, yeah, that's definitely a thing. I'll give you the ghost story since everybody's is just kind of divided on what they want to talk about. And this one came from a listener who they lived in Montpelier, Vermont. You know where that's at? I don't know if you know where that's at. It's up in Vermont. When they were a child, they lived there, and they had a very God, I wish I could have this person. This person, I'll tell you part because this person has an entire, like we could do a whole show, an hour-long podcast just on this story. But one of the really scary stories, this was creepy. I mean, now folks, giving you the warning here, if you want to drop out, because some people are like, hey, I don't like it when you start telling the really scary stories, or they say that they don't like when I tell the stories about ghosts that are scary. I have to tell you this, okay? And I got to give you this. Somebody reported our channel on the impromptu show we did on Saturday, an hour of your time, whatever. It turned out to be 2 hours of your time. My bad. I got slammed for that too. Oh, you said an hour. You did 2, you stupid mammer. So I got hammered, but somebody reported that video, and then we had to have it manually looked at by YouTube to make sure it was okay. And so people have been reporting us saying that our channel is too scary and blah, blah, blah. And I'm not joking, okay? We get messed with, okay? It is what it is. And then if I say anything, then I'm the bad guy for causing drama, whatever. So we just have to grin and bear it. No, I apologize, but I have to say this. If it's too scary, okay, please, just go, because that way, and I'm not, nothing against you, okay, nothing against anybody. Just don't want you to report my channel for trying to terrify people, because that's what I've been accused of. Yeah, it is really that ridiculous, and I'm not joking. So, what happened was this person they were in their bedroom as a kid, and they were playing with another child, and this entity came. Well, I say entity because at the time it would run up and down the hallway, and it would look like, kind of at a glimpse, it would look like a woman, but they couldn't tell. And the child that was with them was the neighbor kid. They were like, what is that? And so they would think that it was like a woman, and the guy that was there playing, he told this person, he was like, the kid, you have a ghost in your house. It looks like a woman. And it's like, how do you know? Is that when we were out in the garage, I saw a woman walk up and kind of just disappear. And this person was like, Adam says, too scary, Wolf. Yeah, freedom of speech. Sorry, Joanne, but freedom of speech is just you.
I mean, you can say whatever you want,
You
but
say what you want, but then you get
they'll
accused
punish you for
threaten
it.
somebody or whatever the heck they say. It does. You got to be careful. So, anyways, he says, I think you have a ghost in your house. And they were out there in the garage looking through a box for some toys, you know. And he said we had just moved there. And it was actually a little boy and a little girl. They were brother and sister. And they both told different stories, but this one in particular was really scary. The boy was asleep in his room later that night, and he said, dude, maybe I was thinking about, he was trying to rationalize it. You know how it goes. You did the same thing when you saw what you saw.
Yeah.
So did I. You try to rationalize it. So they were rationalizing, what was that I saw? Did I really see what I saw, you know? And he was brushing his teeth, and his sister, kind of like you and Leah, you know how y'all fight all the time, whatever, when y'all were young, y'all were always going at it. Just always hitting and kicking each other and all kinds of crap. Well, they were brushing their teeth, and they were like, you know, move over, pushing, shoving, whatever. And they both look to their left, and they hear this, like, what sounded like a rattle. And what he described it, I said, a rattle, like a snake? No, like a baby rattle, really loud, right? And then they look over, and they see this really quick, this like quick image of a woman with a really gaunt face, but it was like gray. And she had, her chin came down to a point, and she had red eyes that looked like marbles kind of rolling around in her skull. That freaked them out, and it was real quick, and it was just like a hissing noise, and then it was gone. Well, needless to say, they quit shoving each other and doing whatever it was they were doing, and they ran to their respective rooms, and eventually this whatever it was moving up and down the hallway about an hour later. Parents were already in bed, asleep. Everybody had gone to bed. Walt got around it with that.
Oh, no.
But anyway.
Thank you, Queebop, for the $20.
Yeah, thank you for that donation. We appreciate it. This thing had gone down the hallway, up and down, like a sentinel all night long, making this sound, like a rattling, hissing sound. And so eventually he was laying in his bed, and he saw it. Sometimes it would look like a mist floating. Sometimes it would look like a black shadow. And sometimes it would look full on like a sort of wispy image of a female, like a hag, right? Eventually he looks over, and he's sitting there in his bed, and he looks over and he sees this thing looking in his room. This is something that happened to him multiple times, but this night he felt something really evil, something really bad. And he he always tried to avoid looking into the hallway. He looks into the hallway. This guy's name's Roger. Roger looks into the hallway, and then he sees another head looking at him. Two different people, two different things. He'd never seen this before. And he's like, why am I seeing two? I knew the woman. I'd seen her before, but there's this other one that looked like, kind of like a female too, but it had more of a masculine energy, if that makes sense. And he asked me, and I said, yeah, it kind of does. Yeah, I get it. He said this one was big. I walked into his room, and it was so tall that it was like hunched over so its head wouldn't hit the ceiling. And he said, dude, we had high ceilings. I said, how tall were they? He goes, I don't know. I was a child, but they were very tall, you know. He's like, my dad is 6'4", and it was, you know, a good couple feet above him. So this thing starts to walk toward him. It had long, skinny legs, long, skinny arms. And he said, you could see it. It was the outline of like a black, shadowy thing. And then he says it came toward him, came creeping over to his bed. And then this entity that was standing there, that was in the hallway, that they would hear running around up and down the hallway all night. But it magically, amazingly, the parents didn't hear it. In particular, the dad never heard it. Seems like it's always that case. But this thing, it comes around the side of the door, and runs over to the bed in front of this big, tall creature and was just right up over top of him. And he's looking up at it, and he's like, what the heck? And he goes, dude, I couldn't turn my face away from it. He's like, I was just in total terror, absolute shock. I couldn't move. I couldn't look away. I could just kept staring at it. He's like, I was just stunned. I just was like, I can't turn my head. He said, I looked into it. I could see this hollow black mouth with this real pointy chin and these red eyes that were just kind of rolling around slowly back and forth, like just going in circles. It's like it was a cross between like a zombie and a skeleton, if that makes any sense. And it had this, like if somebody had died and their hair had fallen out partially. And then he looked up and he saw this other creature. And he says, and I don't know what it was. It didn't look like it had ever been human. It looked like a demon. He said, and the more I observed it, I looked at the head and the top of the head, and it had like little nubs on the top of its head. He said, what do you think that is? I said, I don't know. Did it look like horns? I need a haircut, folks. I know, but I don't want to get somebody sick with whatever this crap is, so I can't do it. And this being put its hand out. He said it looked almost like a big old spider. And then put it on its leg and began to move its hand up his leg, up onto his thigh. And it was making a clacking noise like that with its teeth. And he said it was just like loud too, like clack, clack, clack. Like, you know, and he goes, and I closed my eyes and I began to scream, God help me. In Jesus' name, God help me. And he opens his eyes and they were gone. And he said, I smelled something that at the time as a child, I didn't know what it was. I was like 7 years old. I didn't know what it was. Years later, he goes, I knew it was sulfur. And we know that that's a sign of something evil, demonic. And then he had a bunch of other stuff that had happened to them in that house. Luckily, they didn't stay there long. They moved to New Hampshire. But, yeah, very creepy story. And, that's my ghost story for tonight. If you guys, you know.
I feel like that was demonic.
Well, the thing, you know, if we break it down, which we do here at PRT, what was this? What was that? Was there a woman that had died in that house? Maybe was a female, and if so, was she into something like witchcraft or something, or was this? What was this creature? I mean, what was this tall demonic entity that and he had never, this is the first time he had seen it, but wouldn't be the last. There was a couple other incidences, but for the most part, he would just see that female. But one time in the house, and I don't want to give it all away because we're going to talk about it on the show eventually, his sister saw what looked like a little demonic imp-looking thing that was short, small, and would hop around. He never saw that. The boy didn't, but she did. No scratches? No, he didn't get scratched because he had the covers on his legs. But very terrifying. Lots of nightmares, you know. Buck Norris, yeah, I agree. That's a cool theory. Buck Norris says a demon could be an ancient cryptid. You never know. That's actually something that we can explore because what I was thinking, you know, we were talking about this the other day. Hold on one second. I was thinking about this the other day, and one of my listeners who, well, you heard me talking last night, Anthony, and she was saying that what if a cryptid dies? Does it become, like if it's one of these physical beings, does it become a ghost? And of course, we've fielded reports of the women out near Lexington that ran through this thing, and then of course the one up in the Adirondacks, whatever. What happens? I mean, I don't know if you guys have any theories on that, or if you at home listening, wherever you're listening from, if you have any theories, because that is an interesting point. Now, if something comes from the inner earth, and I had Trey, a listener of the show, not my cousin Trey or Trey Felton, but a listener of the show, and he had a very interesting question. Trey from Virginia said, what happens if these creatures die? And if they're from the inner earth, like you say that they could be, this was his, and of course he said, I thought I saw something come out of a coal mine one time. Used to be legends of these creatures that were like these weird-looking hellhounds with horns in the area where he was from. And he saw them like his grandfather said they were like flesh and blood creatures that came out of the mines. When he saw one, it like disappeared like it was smoke. Now we hear these stories out of the Devil's Backbone. People, the Bigfoot we heard about last November, walking across the road, and it just like the legs and everything just kind of disintegrated, and it just kind of just floated. That was Devil's Backbone. Is this? Are we to believe that this is like a dead Bigfoot, or what are we talking about here? I mean, do these things have souls like you and I, or are they like, what are they?
I mean, I think every living thing does have a soul, but one thing that I was explaining on the way over here, it was like an idea, just like a theory that I had when I was just kind of postulating on my own that certain in the context of people, you know how sometimes you can look at a person and just, it's like you can just tell that they barely have a level of consciousness that's above an animal. Like we'll call them NPCs. It's like a joke term for them, but it's a real thing. And it's like they're very like low vibrational entities. So, and if we think of like what a soul is, it's probably just like pure energy, right? Because everything, even physical matter, is just a form of energy. So, and the physical body is just like a vehicle. It's like a housing for that energy. So what if these people who are like very low functioning, low vibrational, like, just mouth breathing, just not, like the lights are on, but no one's home, look at their eyes,
Like the guy that bumped into me yesterday, like I wasn't even there at the... Yeah.
Like, what if these people actually have, like, they do have a soul, but they have less of a soul than the average person, and because there is less energy that is driving that physical, that flesh, that it vibrates at a lower frequency. Because if you compact anything, any form of energy or any like physical matter, and the more you compact into a space, the higher frequency at which it's going to vibrate, right? So if we think of someone who has less of a soul, then yeah, they're going to be a lower vibrational entity, and they're not going to be a high functioning person. And if we look at someone who's very intelligent, very high functioning, that's probably because there is a lot of energy that is inhabiting that physical vessel. So it's like compacted energy, and therefore it vibrates at a very high frequency. So maybe I think every living thing has a soul, but it's just a matter of like how much energy is within that physical vessel is going to determine its level of consciousness. So yeah, I mean, I think these cryptids, they do have a soul, but it just may not be a soul as we understand it to be. Like Wolf says all the time, how Carl Sagan says that we need to look for life not just as we understand it, but life as we don't understand it. Well, I mean, what is life but a series of souls inhabiting physical matter, flesh and plants, whatnot.
I think...
So, I mean, why wouldn't they have a soul?
That's a good point, but I'm just going to throw this out so that maybe we get a different perspective, because the way I feel like you're coming from it is like what happens when the body dies or whatever. Uh-huh. But the way I'm thinking of these creatures is that in order for them to be able to be present on Earth, they right here, they have to force themselves into like this physical shape. So the way that we're able to is that God has formed a way for us to be able to have a physical shape without having to go beyond any means like these things do. So when they die, they, instead of they just kind of like return back to where they came from.
Yeah, like that.
So, but it's not really like.
That's what I was getting at too. Like they have a physical body, but it's one that's like.
It's not really connected to.
Maybe it's one that was like manifest, and it takes an incredible. Maybe it takes an incredible amount of energy for these things to take a physical form, but if that physical form is destroyed, then that they, like you said, they go back to their true form, which is a spiritual entity, and it might take time for them to be able to gather up all the necessary energy and to concentrate it to the extent that they will then have another physical form. Because, maybe.
A couple of things like that makes me think of it is Darkseid, is like that. He's a DC guy who's a god, and the only way he can really appear in the world is that he has to have like an avatar. But every time he dies, he just goes back to being a god and then just makes another avatar. So like he's immortal in that sense. But even in Warhammer, what me and you were into, that's how the demons work, is that they can only form themselves in the physical body, and then once that thing is killed, it just goes back to wherever it came from. But you can never truly be like killed. So like that's where I was coming from on my mindset.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to an extent, I mean, we're that way too, because our bodies can be killed, but we just go on to another form of consciousness.
Yeah. Very interesting stuff, gentlemen. So the other thing I was going to talk about, if you guys have time, I know it's almost 10 o'clock here in Central Texas. If you guys want to continue, one of the things that I've been faced with, like with this woman with the airplane thing or whatever, is people keep asking this, is why are we not getting more people taking pictures and videos or whatever? And people continue to ask me this question. They do all the time. We get them all the time. But at the minute we post that in the group, we're going to get roasted. So we don't even bother, because I don't want people to think if I post, and the problem too is that if I post a picture, people are going to automatically think that I somehow, that makes me like I believe that this picture is real. I could post that picture and I could say on there, look, I just want to post this and you guys can talk about it, whatever. What do you think? And I will be attacked and told that I'm crazy because I'm saying that I believe this, and even though I didn't say it. That's what always happens. So somebody said, this is a tough crowd you have to be if you watch PRT.
RB Junior Perez says, I respectfully disagree. How can you have less of a soul? Either you have it or you don't. There's no in between. I don't think you're disagreeing with me, Junior, because I believe that there is no in between. You either do or don't have a soul. And I think every living thing probably does have a soul. It's just that, I don't know, if you think of a soul as energy, then you can think of it as like, what concentration of energy does each person have? And that determines, according to my, I don't know, theory, that determines whether or not they have more or less of a soul, because there's only so much energy, and maybe some people have more of it than others. But yeah, I think everyone does have one. It's just that sometimes people vibrate at such a low frequency, they're so low functioning that it's like, it's easy to say, oh, you have no soul. But
you have to explain it, though, because there's always going to be people who aren't going to grasp it.
Yeah. But
I'm not saying, Junior, we're not saying that
we appreciate your input, Junior, and
we're just saying that
it's all good. We're cool.
We want to make sure you understand what we're doing.
Sometimes I'll hear something not all the way myself, and I'll be like, did I get that correctly? And then when they go back and then they say, okay, and then they tell me exactly what they're talking about, and I'm like, oh, okay. Okay, so you don't want me to just urinate on the floor in your living room. I'm sorry, you want me to use the bathroom. I was way off. Yeah.
Here's an interesting about what you said, though, is like every living thing. Do these things, like, do they count as living, or are they imitations of living things? That's the question. Is being forcing a physical body and inhabiting that form, is that really like living, or is that imitating life?
Well,
and in that sense, is that imitating what a soul would be?
It depends on how you define living, because if you define living as like whether or not we inhabit a physical body, then they cease to be alive when the physical body dies. But if we think deeper and define life as like spiritually, then I mean I think they're living things. You know, I think we can accurately say that these creatures, whatever they are, definitely not human and definitely not regular animals, that they're also living things. I mean, in my opinion, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, everything has a soul. But here's a weird story. I mean, this isn't a story, but this is something that's weird. I was listening to a guy talk. I believe it was on like Coast to Coast or some other channel like Clyde Lewis, some of those big ones, you know. And I was listening, and the guy was talking about having worked security at Roswell years and years ago. Like, and I heard this like 20 years ago, and this guy was talking, it was like 20 years before that. So do the math. But he was a security guard, and he saw what he believes were alien, like little gray aliens, like little bitty ones, but they like would disappear, like they would just. And he said that other security guards had said that they were the ghosts of the alien beings that had been brought to the base after they collected the crash. I mean, it's literally like there's a whole thing about it called Ghosts of Roswell, if you look it up. So you have now. Okay, I'll tell you a story that this is my other backup story I was going to tell in case you guys didn't want it. And this is very interesting, and this is from an abductee. And I know everybody likes the ghost stories, the Dogman stories, the abductee stories. Those seem to be like everybody's like sort of like favorite types of stories to tell. So I always like try to get plenty of those. This shirt is like moving. Come on, Scorpion, knock it off. This Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, and it's just kind of like aggravating me. Sitting here, it keeps bunching up, you know. But any stories on MK Ultra? I do. In particular, that's Garetano's thing. But you know, there again, I have to kind of stay away from certain topics because you will get, you know, it's just not. Yeah. But so this is very interesting. Yeah. See, Junior I agree that people can vary greatly in frequency. People can vary greatly in frequency. I agree with that too. To the point where it's like they're not human. That's what we're talking about. We've seen some weird things, all of us, in our lives. I'm sure everybody that's here tonight, or you wouldn't be here. One of the stories though that I got, it was from an abductee, and he was very secretive about it. I don't even know his name. He wouldn't give me a name, but he gave me a lot of stories about his 36 years of being an abductee. And about maybe a year ago, and I didn't get any more information from him. I've been kind of holding out because he kind of left me on a cliffhanger, and he didn't get me back to me about the rest of his stories, like the rest of what happened to him. But one of the things he told me was that he asked many questions of these abductors, of these aliens, and he dealt with 4 different types, but 3 in particular that he dealt with regularly. There was a 4th type, which was the mantis-looking creature, and he only saw it one time. He dealt with a tall gray, which was typically the ones he would deal with. He dealt with little diminutive grays that were little. And then he dealt with these tall, slender, blue-looking creatures that kind of rocked back and forth, like they kind of swayed when they walked, that looked kind of like the grays, but distinctly different. And one of the things that he asked multiple questions from these creatures, and I asked him about it. I was like, you asked a lot of questions. Can you tell me what you asked and what did they say? And he asked them about different, you know, like, do you have a soul? Are you like me? They said, yes, we are. But they actually, when they create the smaller grays in particular, what they do is they are made, the way they make more grays is like sort of akin to, it's not like we do. They don't mate like we do. They grow each other through genetics, like DNA. like they grow each other like in test tubes. Let's put it that way. Like they're grown, you know what I mean? And then when they're ready, they harvest them, and then they put them through like this type of schooling, and then they become adults. And then they're within a couple of years or so, they're already moving around talking, and they have more knowledge than the average adult human being. They download all this knowledge into their minds. Their souls are different than ours. They're more advanced, and they have what they call like what he called like a soul matrix, which I've heard this before. Some people are probably just reviewing. They already have heard this. And so whenever they cultivate them or whatever, they don't really have much difference in personality. They're all kind of one giant connected organism, like a hive mind. So if one of them knows something, the others know it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they are clones. They are literally just clones. And that is pretty much how they're made. But it's interesting that one of the blue aliens told them, they're like, if we didn't have souls, we wouldn't function. That your soul is literally electricity. It's like, it is literally electric. That's what, keeps you being what you are. And one of these beings, like right before he was knocked out and went unconscious, literally put something on the side of his like temple, and he woke up. And for like days, and eventually it wore off, but for like days he was seeing visions and all kinds of things, and he was able to do math and do things he could never do before. And when he got abducted again and taken, he said that that this thing, I'll call this guy X because that's what he called himself. But anyway, X said that basically he had been taken aboard a craft. And, take it with a grain of salt. This is a story that was given to us, okay, in particular me. And I just, if somebody I can't verify this, if somebody can't come on the show and talk about it or give me a name at least so that I know their name and I know that they're a real person. But this person said that they've been traumatized by their experiences and blah, blah, blah. And they're not from America either. They're from Central America. They're Panamanian, but this person said that they lived here for a long time, and they've lived in 3 different countries trying to get away from what they call these aliens and their harassment. But this creature, having told this guy, one of these beings, I say creature, it's a being, says that we gave you an example of what it's like to have our brain, and that their mind is very much connected to the soul. And that your soul pretty much is your mind, and that's the connection. The thing that Mr. Bigfoot says, why are you telling that story then, Josh? Okay, because I'm trying to give you some insight into what someone's theory is. Okay, that's why I prefaced it with that. I told you, because I didn't say it like, hey, this is the gospel truth, this person, because I don't know this person, okay? And I don't know if it's true, so I'm sitting here telling you right now.
Well, I was carving it in stone right now, but I guess
well,
not.
The problem, too, and I don't want to get snarky with you, Bigfoot, but the problem, too, though, is that, people are allowed to say whatever they want. Anyone can say anything. Here's the issue. If you want to tell a story, or if you have something that someone, whatever, really and truly for me, and this is why I've had this information for over a year, I haven't told it, because this person has never came back to me and told me a name or somebody that I can say, hey, and talk with this person and speak, you know what I mean? But here's the thing, what they said, it said it's a guy, they said he was male. But this man, what he said was, it jibes with a lot of what other people have told me, face to face even, all of us, about alien abduction. And so what he's saying is, it does make a lot of sense. But this person went in depth in it, And for all I know, this person just read a lot of books, or, they read a lot of other people's accounts or whatever. But this is what this person typed to me, personally. Okay, so that person said that when they talked to this being, it basically gave him an insight into what what was going on. Now, even the most credible of reports, like when we've gotten reports out of Dulce, not me personally, I'm not talking about, but people who've supposedly been held captive in Dulce. I mean, there's all these people who claim that these things have happened or whatever. It sounds credible, it sounds believable, but all you really have is their word. But when you go back and you take their stories and you look at the kernels of information in those stories, you can see that there is something there because that matches up perfectly with other people's stories. And so then you're going like, here we go. There's something there. Pocket Reality says, wasn't Dulce made up by Richard Dottie? No, I don't think so, dude. Why would you say that? Cooper Young, oh man. The Dulce stuff, there's a whole bunch of it. There's a whole lot of it. And it's just, I've read a ton of stuff about it, and there's been a ton of stuff talked about it on other podcasts and shows. And when you go down that particular hole, I mean, it is weird. It's very weird and winding, and you get all kinds of people's stories and all kinds of stuff, and you really don't know. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's hard. You get all these reports of like reptilian hybrids and Draco reptilians that are wandering around and whatever. Starscream says, yeah, Richard did straight. Yeah. Mr. Bigfoot, how do you know they are bionic robots? Have you examined one? Let's see. Where did he say that?
I'm not seeing that.
I don't know.
I don't think Mr. Bigfoot commented again.
Yeah, he said something like that earlier. Though. Not that.
Oh, earlier?
Yeah, I don't know what he said earlier. He might have said something. Because that's an interesting question. I mean, that's an interesting thing. He says the little grays are, but yeah, he did. Mr. Bigfoot says the little grays are bionic robots. You guys don't have a clue what you're talking about. Okay. So enlighten us. Tell us, Mr. Bigfoot, what they are, because I do believe that the little grays are biological robots. I've actually said that on the show.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we've mentioned that idea before, like multiple times on different shows, like here and there, that about the strong possibility that, especially like according to abductees themselves, that the grays, there's like a consistent pattern of people who have seen these things and dealt with them, believing that they're like biological robots, some kind of biomechanoid being. I don't know. So.
And honestly, the way you kind of describe it sounds a little bit like a bio robot anyway.
Yeah.
Grown in test tubes, programmed everything they need to, and then they're just sent out in a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Sounds like a biological robot to me. I mean,
yeah, Dave Howell says biological and bionic are different. Yeah, that's true. But I've said before that they are biological a type of biological robot. And I also think they're very mercenary. Like they you find them with all these other types of aliens, which leads people to speculate that there's some sort of federation, which is very possible. And also people make a connection between them and Dogman, saying that the Dogman is a type of alien. And we could get into that because, well, let's be honest. I mean, they were on Star Wars. There's a species of them on Star Wars. There's a reptilian species that's there's a few reptilian species in Star Wars. There's one in particular, Trandoshan, who are very violent and mean. And then there is the Wookiee, which is kind of like a Bigfoot. And then you have this, I don't know what they're called, but there's a species that look like werewolves. Literally, they have the backward bent legs and everything. They look just like werewolves.
Yeah, they had like that werewolf in the original cut of the of Star Wars, like in the cantina scene. Mm-hmm. It shows like a werewolf sitting there with like these red eyes glowing. It's crazy looking.
Yeah,
they cut it out for some reason though.
Mr. Bigfoot says we have robots where you couldn't tell they are not human. Yeah, that's true. I've heard a lot of stories about that, dude. I get here at Paranormal Roundtable, we get a bevy of stories that are just so many different types of entities and creatures.
I mean, we also
all kinds of reports.
That's why we throw so many theories out, because we get so many different reports that kind of like sway one way or the other. So when we get those reports, we take a look at it from like a empty kind of just non-judgmental, no former ideas, bringing nothing to it, so that when we give out our theories, we could kind of have a basis of like, oh, we're not coming in this with any prior knowledge. These are some things I thought of. They're probably not true, but let's throw it out there anyway so we can think and, posturize. That's what we do here.
Yeah. Miguel Geddes says, go ahead.
I was going to say, I do have a quick question, though. So what would define bionic in comparison to biological? Huh?
Are you asking me or you want to ask the crowd?
Both, I guess. Because like I've never. That was an interesting comment, Dave. That biological and bionic are two different things. I've never thought about it.
I think would be like
I don't know what
metal
what the difference
versus
is.
actual like flesh, right? Like,
Yeah, but like what? Okay, like to say something is bionic and then to say something is a biological robot. If those are two different things, then like what are the differences?
Do you want me to answer?
Yeah.
Okay. Bionic is different because bionic is like, imagine something like a cyborg, right?
But wouldn't that be a biological robot?
No, biological. Okay, the difference would be, to me, bionic is like, it's something that's like manufactured artificial parts, like a cyborg.
metal, yeah.
Yeah, like say you have like a bionic arm. I know because I used to play with the Bionic Man. My friend's older brother, it was a little before my time, but he had the Bionic Man, and I used to play with it all the time. And so it's like he has like, he's a human being or whatever, but it has like robot parts, right? Biological is just like artificial, but it's also made with just the anatomy is just biological.
One's a Terminator, one's RoboCop. That's the way to put it.
Basically. Yeah. Or
So like one's
Okay.
a made thing to look like human and it has all the anatomy of human, but it's all biological.
Kinda, but no, biological, I guess the way I mean biological robot is what that guy told X. What X, I don't know what X stands for, but that's what this guy X said. He said that these things are, they told him that they were grown, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's grown like that, then it is artificial. They are artificial, but they are still biological. They're purely biological. They don't have like, okay, think of like the Yuuzhan Vong in Star Wars. Everything that had anything bionic, anything that was
their ships,
flesh,
their guns, everything
had to
was
be like it found in nature. It had to be natural, and so they looked at droids, which would be bionic basically. They looked at them as like apostates or whatever. It's like it was what is the word? Like if you're a heretic,
Abomination?
like an abomination, heretic, yeah. Okay, Rebecca Oliver says bionics is manufactured structures taking inspiration from nature. Yeah.
And Dave Howell answered too. He said, bionics are an application of cybernetics into a biological entity. Biological is all flesh.
And also, Mr. Bigfoot, let's be kind here, dude. Okay, he's like, you don't have a clue what you're talking about. Maybe find out before you say things like that, because that's not very nice to say stuff like that.
It's like
Not hurting my feelings, but it just don't do that, because then other people will start saying stuff, and we don't want that. Miguel Geddes says biological robot to me are the units from the Alien movies, i.e. Bishop and such. Yeah, but Joanne says it right here. She says mechanical versus organic. There you go.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Because like I'm thinking like
metal versus flesh.
cyborg would be like you said, RoboCop, because it is a living man. Like it is he's alive.
Mm-hmm.
But then Terminator is just a machine, but he's a machine with like flesh kind of slapped over it. And
Yeah, but like
that's not a cyborg. It's just like a biological robot.
biological robot would be more like all of
that's
it
not a
is flesh.
cyborg. It would be cyborg would have to be man
turned into
machine.
Yeah.
Well, no, because then
RoboCop.
there's androids, which are full on.
That's not a biological robot.
I'm not saying it
bionic,
is.
yeah. That's different. Biological robot, organic vessel with base programming instead of a soul. Yeah, there you go, Brett. That's kind of, yeah. Now that leads to the speculation of whether or not these things are, is it downloaded information? It's a soul? Do they share a soul matrix? Like, what are we talking about here? And we here at PRT have gotten, hold on one second, we have gotten stories, and then I'll let you tell it. We have gotten stories of robots. I know it sounds crazy, but people have come to us and been like, hey, and I know, Tony, you know this in particular, telling us that they've seen robots, people that they thought were robots. One guy at the dealership in particular, I don't want to say, I don't have permission to say his name or whatever, but he was talking about this being like short-circuiting in his office. And we're sitting there going like, what? Like, he was talking about it. He was saying that there was a person that came into his, his dealership when he was working in, he said he was working in Buda, wasn't it? Kyle or Buda? Something like that?
I think it was Buda.
I think it was Buda. And he said that he goes, dude, I thought this woman was a robot. She started short-circuiting. She was like, and he's like, then he's like, okay, maybe she's having a stroke. And then he's like, her husband comes in and he's like, oh, honey. And he touches her back and goes up and down. And then she sits up and starts talking normal.
Yeah, he said like she thought she was on drugs at first.
Yeah, he was like,
she didn't seem like the type.
Circuiting.
It's like that scene on Total Recall when Arnold Schwarzenegger's like dressed up like that woman. Have you seen the original one?
It's been a while since I've seen that.
But like he starts like short circuiting, and she's like 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, and then her head opens up and like explodes.
Someone put it 2 weeks as soon as you said it.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yes, 2 weeks. 2 weeks. It's weird, dude. That scene creeped me out when I was a kid because I first saw that movie when I was a kid, and I was like, "What is this?" Because I don't know.
Try watching it under the influence.
You don't understand
Not that I ever
it when
did
you're
that,
a kid.
but, yeah.
Okay, so what I was going to say earlier is that if there were clones and like they're all the same kind of soul, and that's the thing that's getting transferred in there, would that be biological robot or would it be something else? Would like clones count as a biological robot?
Well, if you're cloning flesh and
if you're cloning, like let's say you clone you, right? Well, then in order to make that body come to life, is that
a show on robots?
Well,
you kind of inject a bit of your soul into it, so then it turns it into something. Does that become a robot, or is that like?
I actually watched that documentary, King of Clones. And
very interesting.
Like that guy, and I don't condone at all what he was doing, so don't misinterpret this. But the one thing that he said is like, in order to explain, from his perspective, the morality of what he was doing and why it wasn't an issue for him was because he said, like, look, we're not cloning living things. We're copying genetic material. So if you think about it that way, like if someone were to clone me, that other clone of me, that is not me. That is a copy
Exactly.
that's a copy of my flesh, but that is going to be a different being. Now that being will still be beholden to the same genetic proclivities that come with my flesh, but that is not going to be me.
What if it doesn't have to be? What if you could program a bit of your soul into it, so it's one soul over multiple bodies, hive-minded? It would explain why they have a hive mind, is because there's one Big Daddy Gray who's the one in control of everything, and he's the one that like is the progenitor who was like, and he's the one that shares his soul out.
Yeah, but
yeah, I'm sorry, you guys. I just wanted to read those. Shade Viking says, "Guys, we are not here to know everything. We are here to behold everything."
Yeah, that's maybe you,
Very
Shade.
powerful statement, dude.
I'm here to know everything.
Berry Pumpkin, I tend to agree. I believe that everything. I said this earlier. We were talking about this on the way over here, folks. We were going around with this. Anthony was on the phone with my other little nephew, his little brother, Adrian. And Adrian's not little, but he's your younger brother. But and you were talking about that. We were just having this conversation. That's very odd that and then we ended up talking about it. We weren't really planning it. It just kind of happened. But yeah, Barry Pumpkin says, I believe that everything that has intelligence has what we would call a soul. And then Betsy below there says clones are real humans, like identical twins. Yeah, it's very weird. I mean, when you look at like the whole clone thing, right? And I've talked about this before. And also Appalachian, I was just going to ask, I saw in here Appalachian Tales of Terror with Jimmy. you have a channel, you have a show. If you want, you can we can give you a shout or whatever. Get with me after the show, message me, hit me up on through Messenger, or you can hit me up through, because I like my listeners to have the exposure to look at other people's channels and other people's books and things like that. So yeah, email me. That's the thing. I get asked that sometimes. People are like, why do you promote other people's work? You should just be worried, and I don't. Why? Why not? What's the problem with that? And I'm not going to call people out or whatever, but they, somebody was kind of telling me that the other day that they won't do that. I don't understand that. Your work stands on its own. There's no competition. I mean, if that person has good work, you should listen to them.
Yeah, they act like we have to. If you watch one podcast and all of the podcasts
you have to be loyal to them and no one else. Don't listen to no one else. Nope, I never do. Like
I never share no.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say I never share no subscribers with nobody.
Nope, never do.
Who was it, Gandhi, that said there's enough for every man's need and not every man's greed?
Yeah.
Something like that. Like there's enough at the table for everyone to eat. Like
we keep saying that, and everybody just keeps.
And when someone else's channel grows, that helps us. When our channel grows, that helps them, because that's bringing more people to the table. It's bringing more, attention to the information that you are making about which you are making a channel.
And it makes it so that a lot of different people have different avenues to get into a subject, but then have different groups.
And think about it like this.
Like
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say we could get viewers from that because we can share viewers.
Yeah.
And it's like just because
we all grow together. That's why I don't understand this field, this community is so rife with all this fakery and all this infighting and all this whatever. Like, somebody made a comment to me about Aaron Deese being on the show, and I was like, Aaron's not in competition with me for his book. I like that him and Nick Redfern are both releasing books. I think it's good for us to all have to have more, because the more that you guys are exposed to and watch and whatever, then you guys can come back to our show, and it makes for more interesting conversation. We can all talk about it, and you can be like, hey, I heard this on this channel, because me personally, I love this stuff, but I don't have time to watch everybody else's channel, nor do I have time to correspond with everybody, so I have to pick my spots. Unfortunately, I'm a slave to my job, and I'm not joking. I feel literally like I'm a slave to my job. I'm not happy where I'm at in my life with my job. It's the truth. I'll be honest with you, but it is what it is. I have no choice, Not complaining. I'm not going to cry because God has blessed me. But my job is very demanding, and it takes a lot of my time. And whatever little time that it's not sucked out of me, I try to donate it to this. I don't have hobbies anymore. I used to have hobbies. You guys know. I used to like to
collect baseball,
collect cards. I used to game with you guys. I don't do anything anymore. Everything. This is my life now. And sometimes I get upset because people attack, and it's like. But I only I only respond maybe 10% of it, because you have to at some point take a stand, say, hey, enough's enough. But
Appalachian Tales of Terror with Jimmy B says that's why I quit the crypto community too. Too much drama.
Mm-hmm. And people are so jealous, of each other. Like I just, and I don't bring it. Somebody brought it to me and wanted me to do something, and I told them no, and then it became a big problem. And, it's like I just want, if you notice, there was a long period where we had no problems. It was smooth sailing, there was a few waves, but nothing we couldn't handle, and eventually I had to say something. It's like the guy that was leaning on me on the counter. I'm like, hey, man, you're touching me, what am I supposed to do? Just stand there and let him, and I'm like, I said, by the way, I'm sick. I don't know what I have. You might want to back off. But it's very rude, and I'm not trying to be, mean, but at some point you have to tell somebody to stop, Anyway, and that's my thing, and a lot of egos too, and it gets ridiculous. You're right. It's just, if we could all learn that there's enough for everybody and that we can all share, like I love bringing other podcasters to you. I love bringing and promoting other people's work. I love bringing you other people's stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't understand Why always, every time I do that, somebody has to say something snarky about it. I mean, it's like, you're cutting your own throat. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is not, this isn't the be-all, end-all for me, And I want to hear and know what everybody else is doing, too, because I'm interested in it. Like, I was watching Steve Isdall, and somebody's probably going to say something about that. Why are you watching him? He's your competition. But no, he's not. Okay? Guy's huge, You don't even know he probably doesn't even know I exist and doesn't care, and I'm not worried about it, dude. It's not a big deal, okay? I mean, well, he might, because I know a lot of people, but it doesn't matter. He's not my enemy. If we could all, if we here at PRT could make an example for the community and an example in forgiveness, an example in for acceptance, an example in understanding, and just be like, hey, those guys, there's problems, something happens, they get over it, they move on, they dust themselves off. Like a pitcher, he gives up a home run. You know what he does? He better go into that dugout and forget it happened. And then he better come out and he better throw strikes, because that's your job. For me to sit up here, Love Cat, you're exactly right. Envy is a deadly sin. I better sit up here and I better give you the goods, or you're not going to watch. There wouldn't be 563 people in this chat right now. Because if I'm up here, and I'm talking about insurance premiums, you're not going to want to hear it. But what we need is a little bit of compassion, understanding, and everybody to try to get along and do what's right. I took an ethical stance on something. It happens, okay? People took it the wrong way, or somebody did, and then took something else I said and ran with it. It's just life. You go on, you move on. I forgive and I forget, and I don't even care anymore. It's over. It's done. We need to all do that. If we could all do that, then we could go so much further. I want everybody to succeed. I want everybody to find favor in the eyes of others. That's what I want. I pray that every day. It's part of our daily prayer, is it not?
Oh, it definitely is.
Yeah, I pray that we all can find favor in the eyes of the people that we need to find favor in the eyes of. If we could all do that and all pray together and do that, whether you believe in prayer or not, at least give the good energy and thoughts out there. Whatever you can do, contribute to the positivity. I mean, that's just it. But there's so much trickeration, I call it. It's so ridiculous, man. Northern Mecano says all the drugs Mexico have done work done by Bruja. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely correct. Yep, I've heard a lot of stories about that. The thing is, yeah, Maynard, you're right. Nothing wrong with giving others a hand up. I promise you, if you help your fellow man or woman, whatever, and you give them a leg up and you give them help, it comes back to you. It comes back to you. I don't know how many times I've been blessed for helping others. And you don't do it for that reason. So, because, I'm going to be blessed by doing this. Because some people do things like that. They just don't get it. But it does come back to you. Barry Pumpkin says, you could game if you wanted. Yeah, I just don't have time. I love Age of Empires, but I have to, you can't, there's not enough hours in the day, there's not enough time on this earth to do everything. And you have to do what you have to do. You have to pick your spots. That's just life. That's how it goes.
Shade Viking says, the meaning of life is so simple, though impossible to follow by many. It's very true. Like, I wanted to add something to that. And to your previous comment earlier, Shade, said, it reminds me of a quote from this really great movie, from the newest Dune movie, the remake, which if you haven't seen it, highly recommend it. There's really cool quotes and moments in that movie.
Make sure you got a good sound system, though.
Yeah. But one of the things that stuck with me was there's a part in that movie where one of the characters says, the meaning of life is not a mystery to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. And that's very true, because we're all, that's why we're all here. Most of us probably know that we're not going to get the answers that we seek, but it's not in the answer. It's not the answers. Yeah, it's not in finding the answers. It's in seeking the answers. That's the reality to be experienced. That's why we're all here. Because if we weren't here for that, then we wouldn't be here. Why even be here if we're not just embracing the mystery? If we're not embracing
destination, it's the
the
journey.
lack of answers and the abundance of questions. You know.
You see what Penny Van put? Most people extend a hand of assistance to others with expectations of something in return. That's like the story I told on Sunday about the granny witch. She wasn't doing anything out of the kindness of her heart. She was doing everything based on, something that she wanted. You had to give her something. She didn't care about you. That's how people are at times, and but don't fall into that just because somebody's that way. Don't stoop to that level. Just do what you got to do. Somebody said, King of Hecamundo says there's a lady in my block doing brujeria to many people just because they have a loving family and the kids have changed. The thing moved when I was talking. It changed from being kids to doing evil crimes, just pure evil. That's evil. Yeah, you're right. And there's people that do it for the sake of evil. I literally, when I was younger, I confronted a guy one time, and, I worked government housing, and we had this guy, and he was in custody, and I was standing there, and there was a police officer and two constables, and they had come because they had to evict him, and I worked that property, and it was me and another guy that were standing there, still my friend to this day. He lives down in the valley. It was like over 20 years ago. And, he had done something really terrible to an animal. I mean, and they found it, obviously I'm not going to get into the graphic nature of it. And the constable said, why? And he says, first of all, he says, well, it's free country because I can, which is not, that's not correct. You can't just do what you want because you think it's a free country. Okay. First of all, there's laws. And then he says, and I enjoyed it. And he says, he goes, why? He goes, because I like to spread evil. He said, I'm evil, and I like to spread evil. And he literally meant every word he said. It was so evil. And then he started muttering in Latin, and I was like, he's speaking Latin. And they were like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, he's cursing everybody. Another day, another day in the hood. It was just, it was sad. And there's people that have to live there because they're poor. And they have to live amongst this kind of stuff, and I tried to do my part to do what I could to clean up their neighborhood as best I could to get rid of it so they didn't have to, live around this garbage. I did that again in 2019. Most recently, it was 2019. And there was a place I did security at called Palo Santos. A lot of evil was being done there. But I managed to get, evictions on a lot of the bad people and get them out of there. And my reward was, and you know this, Anthony, the people coming to me and telling me, thank you for making this a place I can actually live. I can close my eyes at night and sleep. Good has its own reward. You don't need a reward for doing good. If you're doing good for the sake of heaven or to avoid hell, then you're on the wrong path. You're correct.
I hate people who do that stuff.
I know. And it's just like they do it not thinking, Miguel Guetta, did we get his comment? He had donated and he made a comment. Corley, thank you for that donation.
Let me see.
I don't know if I read it or not. Exactly, Kate the Great. You're exactly right. Folks, I love you all. I really do. Without you guys, we can't do a show. Look, we did an impromptu show, and we got, I think the most we had in here was like 578 people or something like that.
Found his comment.
You did?
Yeah. I'm hoping I don't have any doctor's appointments in September, and if I don't, then I'll be buying my hotel and plane ticket next month to come to the conference by myself, since my friends can't come. Well, we're your friends.
We're your friends. We'll have a blast. Don't worry. But, doing this show, too, has taught me things, too, that, I thought I had things figured out, but I've had to learn to be more forgiving and more patient and more understanding. Everybody's just human. People make mistakes. They do things they don't mean. They say things they don't really want to say. They just do it, and it happens. And the hardest thing to do is sit up here in public and apologize. And I've had to do that, and you, my audience, have grown with me as I've grown as a person. And sometimes you guys hold me to a high standard, but you know what? I appreciate that. It's made me a better person. What kind of person would I be if I was angry at my fans for caring enough to tell me, hey, you're wrong. Not in an argumentative, hateful way, but hey, you know, a constructive criticism. A couple weeks ago, my team here, there were 4 of y'all, and y'all literally let me have it. And then at that point, I had to look down, lift my head up, and go, you're all going to get a ass whooping right now. And I started throwing punches and kicks, and until I was done, and it was like, ugh! I don't even watch wrestling, but it was like wrestling. I know that because I've heard about it, and I body slammed all these people, and I won. I beat everyone.
Well,
everybody.
It wasn't until we brought in our secret weapon.
Tony, Anthony, Nelly the pig, everybody got body slammed by me that day. You don't correct me. I'm not wrong. I'm never wrong. Get out of here. I'd like to take this time to apologize to absolutely no one. I'm just kidding.
Double Champ does what he wants.
Yeah, that's how he makes us work for free. Just beats us. Right?
Plot twist. You didn't see that coming, did you?
He takes Tony and beats me with Tony's body. Just like that scene when the Hulk grabbed Loki and was like flailing him around.
Slamming him down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that still really hurt me more, and I got to really just get beat on Anthony, so that's okay. He does go after Banjo if I don't act right.
Except whenever your head just bounces off of his chest, and I got to whatever, dude. I'm joking, folks. Obviously, somebody will take that and turn it into a clip and be like, he abuses people. He admitted he did it. This man. You know, and then they'll turn it into some sort of TikTok video or something. But, folks, that's all the time we got. I appreciate you coming and staying for about an hour here, you know. And like I said, the giveaways will continue once we're done with the conference. We're like, you know, gearing up. Like everything we have has to go to the conference.
I want to give a big thanks because, you know, impromptu show, 3 hours, and it's been consistently 550 people pretty much.
557 people right now.
I looked throughout the show, it's been consistently that. So thank you guys for just following us no matter where we do it on the program or if we do it randomly.
Yeah. Yep. And thanks to everybody that donated because that money's all going toward the conference, believe me. It's all going toward paying for that expensive venue.
Michael Spanu, or if I said your name wrong, my bad. Just make sure to send us a message so we can do something about. He's the one that wanted to buy the 4 tickets.
Oh, you mean Michael Sproul?
Yeah, Michael Sproul had 4 tickets he wanted to give away. Is there anybody who wants to
make
go?
Make sure to message us so that we can get that done.
Is he talking about VIP or is he talking about regular tickets?
That's what I'm saying. Like, make sure he messages us so we can have an idea.
And I don't know, like how that would logistically how that would work. Like, I mean, maybe they can send us an email saying, "Hey, I want to take up Michael on his offer," and then
very simple. All we got to do.
No, we just give away 4 tickets on here, right?
Just give away 4 tickets. Like, then all you got to do is just send me an email, and we'll take a screenshot both ways, and then you can come in for free. I found out today from Lyle that they're going to be actually filming a documentary following him around. So at the conference,
that's funny.
Because the guy got in touch with me from what channel it was, some channel, I don't know. Anyway, and I can't remember which network it was, but it's some kind of documentary, and Lyle's going to be. It's about cryptids or whatever, and I guess they're going to be following him around. So you'll see me next to Lyle. Hey. And I'm kidding, folks. I have no desire to be on there. No desire. I'm just going to be really rude and be like, put my hand up like this. Yeah.
Just be hanging around him like, hey, my brother makes good head cheese.
just walk around and keep putting your hand in front of the camera like you're so important. Yeah. And they're like, why does this guy keep like showing up and just putting his hand in front of the camera?
Just take a pocket knife out and drive it into your hand.
Just take your diary. Just like, I'm not going to let y'all hear about my diary. It's none of your business. Mm-hmm. May 13th, made a ham sandwich. Stop trying to listen, you know. I got to do that.
Hey, did you hear Lyle is such a rude jerk? Oh, did you guys catch? Oh, no, I ruined your whole thing.
Well, we just have to edit that out. Just keep saying it.
Just walking around like,
wow, just keep showing up next to him so you can try to be on there. Yeah, it's my conference. Just want you to know. It's just me holding a rifle. It's like, dude.
You do that,
man, get him out
You do that
here.
Family Guy scene where he's like he has like that the straps on, and he starts taking them off, and he's. My bad.
Oh, you totally ruined
Okay,
that.
anyway. Let's move on to someone who can hold a coherent thought.
What the heck is that, dude?
What?
So like every scene where like
a parody of another
front and
thing.
center, you just see like Wolf's head like in the corner, like right here where my finger is. You just see Wolf's head popping up. Hey guys, what's up?
Schindler's List.
Hey guys.
That's what it was.
What?
What?
How do you go from Family Guy to Schindler's List?
They literally made fun of the scene because he's shirtless, he has a gun, and he's holding the strap, so he takes him off and he shoots at Mort.
All right, man. All right.
Wow.
Okay.
I don't even know what that was about. But anyway, jeez. Michael Sprout says, just give out 4 tickets. I'll even up with Josh. Okay, so are we talking about VIP or regular? That's what we were asking, Michael. So who wants tickets? If you want tickets, let me know. So this is The Amazing Dumb. Anna Holly, remember that? Yeah, we need to make that shirt, man. The Amazing Dumb was like, that was funny, dude. You Amazing Dumb.
Yeah.
That was a story I made up about a lizard or something with a little backpack. Oh, God. I wonder what episode that was. That's a good one, dude. We should make that into like a short for real.
Yeah.
That would be a good one. Or the people from the group that were, well, I remember it this way because it was in a group and they were talking about Bigfoot. And I did it on the show. Like I talked about it. And I actually showed Lyle this, and we were driving back, and we were talking about it, and I showed him that, and he cracked up laughing. It was a good, funny little skit I did, I guess. I'm not trying to toot my own horn or anything, but it was just, I didn't rehearse it or anything. I was just so aggravated. These people were like, they were talking about the war between Russia and Ukraine, and some of you veterans probably know about this, the people that have been in the show for a long time, the PRT veterans. And I just was so aggravated. I'm like, you're in the group, and I'm like, this is what you're talking about? Finding Bigfoot in Ukraine? Like, people are dying on both sides of this war. And all you can talk about is, oh, maybe they'll discover Bigfoot, and I hope Bigfoot's okay. And I'm like,
Hope he's okay.
I was like, dude, what in the heck are you talking about? Like, let's focus on the humanity end of this before we start worrying about cryptids. And it was just like, what are you talking about? So I made this whole skit about a Russian tank crew, and it was just, everybody thought it was hilarious. I got tons of emails about it. Somebody even drew me a picture of it. Like, it was funny. It was like Bigfoot sitting on a T-34 tank, which is not even what they use as T-78s, I believe. But anyway, he says, your choice on VIP or normal. Okay. So, folks, if you want VIP tickets, there it is. It says just give out 4 tickets. Anybody taken? Let's see here, because those tickets aren't cheap. Mammy J Hall says, I want a ticket. Miguel Guerra says, I want a ticket. I will know if I can go next month. Let me know, Miguel. This is what I'll do for you. You have been a listener of the show for a long time, and this doesn't have anything to do with Michael Sproul's generous offer. Miguel, you and Mammy both. Their tickets are on me. Just show up. You don't got to pay a cover. Just show up and say, I'm Mammy. And then Miguel, you show up and say, I'm Miguel. Y'all are both longtime listeners, longtime supporters. I'll eat it. Don't worry. Just show up and just say, hey, I'm this person, and I will let you in. And I will go to the door. Squid. Starscream. Squid might go. I don't know. But we're going to have, Starscream will be at the door. And if he's listening right now, he can verify this too, and we'll let you in.
Eddie Petch says, I'm Miguel.
Everybody's like, I'm Miguel. Eddie Petch.
He's going to get a fake ID with that name on it and just show up.
Cooper says, I'm Miguel, white as hell. Hey, man, Chicano's not a color, is it? That's what they say on Blood In, Blood Out. I don't know. I've heard some things. Shadow Man knocked it out of my head and said he hates PRT. That's unfortunate. Let's see here. Sugar Bitches, we love you too. Thank you for all you do. And unfortunately, she can't make it to the conference because she'd definitely be free VIP.
Okay, so we have... I hope I'm saying your name right. Quez McIntyre. He said, I'll gladly take one.
Okay.
So make sure you send Wolf an email up top at joshturner@prtpodcast.com. Just let him know that you're taking Michael Sproul's offer. And
Carlos says, me and my wife want to FO Wolf.
Go, I'm assuming.
Go, okay. Carlos,
Yeah, he said
me and my wife. Okay, so we got 2 for him right there. There's 2. Show up, okay? Blue Brain, you just got here? Where have you been? Carlos says, I'll take 2.
That's 2, and then Quez is 3, right?
Yeah.
yeah, it's 3 so far.
So 1 more.
So we got Quez. All you got to do, Quez, is show up. And Miguel and Mammy, like I said, y'all show up. And it's on me. Don't worry about it. Show up. VIP, guys. Crystal says, show up or else. Yeah, there you go. Shanna's like, 50 Miguel show up. No, Miguel, please show up with your ID.
Yeah. He says he has one eye and tattoos, so it'd be hard to.
Okay, well then there you go. That's not gonna. So if you want to be Miguel,
Well, you shouldn't have told people that because now they're going to show up with an eye patch.
They're like, how dare you try to touch my eye patch?
Yeah, they're going to show up with like an eye patch and like those temporary tattoos that you used to get out of the 50-cent machines.
Yeah. Covered in them. Why do these all have like Super Mario and My Little Pony? I like toys a lot.
I'm a brony. Haven't you heard of this?
Brony. Eddie Petch says, paying for daughter's college tuition, proud but broke. Well, Petch, we got another ticket left if you want to show up. You just have to pay for the hotel, but I mean, that's up to you. I'm Spartacus. Let's see. Anybody else? We have 3 people now so far. Plus, we gave 2 free slots to Carlos, and we're starting to get an uptick in the tickets. People are starting to actually buy some tickets compared to like last month. Or June was pretty good, and July has been a lot. As we get closer, and then I'm sure there's going to be, like last year, there's going to be just a bunch of people who are going to show up at the door. Because we had like 50, 60 people that didn't buy tickets online.
Yeah.
They showed up at the door. Like they were already lined up. So people who had the tickets, whatever, we were like, hey, you got to do this. I don't know exactly how they did it at the door, but I just remember there being a lot of people.
I'll be right back, poking my eye out. Jeez. So we have 1 more ticket up for grabs.
Mickey, I wish you could go too. They said, I wish I could go. Moving in about 2 weeks. Need every penny I know. It's hard, man. What about you, Appalachian Terrors? Are you going to show up? Do you want to go to the conference? We got, I think we still got quite a few of the VIP left. I don't know. I got to go look. But I know those will be probably sold out eventually before. I know we'll have plenty of the regular ones, but I'm not, you never know what could happen. Last year, there was a huge push, like the 2 months going into it, and we sold a bunch. I almost grew a new eye. Oh, God. It's hard to think about. He said, I'm from Kentucky, bro. I'll be busy. Wish I could. Yeah. Kentucky's an amazing state, too. A lot of cool stories out of that area.
Got one more ticket up for grabs. If just one of 507 of you are here right now, can go, let us know. Leave a comment.
Yeah, a lot of these people have already bought tickets, too.
Yeah, that's true.
Holly says, since everyone is feeling so generous, anyone willing to pay for plane tickets. Where are you flying from, Holly? I don't think she made it last year. Ricardo Ramirez says, what do I have to do to get the ticket? Nothing. It's a free ticket up for grabs. If you want a $125 ticket.
So as soon as you say you want the ticket, we'll give it to you, and then when you show up at the conference, you just give me $100 and you'll be good.
Please don't do that. Just show up and have the email, and you can email me. We can go back and forth, and you can email joshturner@prtpodcast.com, and then you have the screenshot, and the people at the door will know, or they could just come and get me, and I can let you in. And then you'll have access for Friday night, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. So it's going to be cool. We have a couple slots open now. So we're going to move things around a little bit. So we're going to be able to invite more people to talk and do things. And there's going to be a lot of people that are coming that weren't going to be able to speak, that did want to speak. And now we're going to have room because I think we're going to have 2 panels. So it's going to be really cool.
Do you want that ticket then, Ricardo?
Yeah, he said, okay, then I'll email you then.
Good.
So, then that's all 4. So that's
Holly, are you
Carlo?
coming this year to the conference?
I wonder if Ricardo's Spanish for Richard. Because his last name's Ramirez.
Richard Ramirez. I would call myself Ricardo too.
Yeah.
Like, my name is Ricardo. I almost wanted to just say, you know what? I'm Josue Pablo Turner. Well, it doesn't sound too good. It doesn't just roll off the tongue. Because Josh Turner is a country singer, and everybody's like, Josh Turner, long back train, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, dude, so tired of living in this man's shadow. So I could just call myself Josue Pablo Medina.
Oh, he said he's from Mexico, actually.
You see right above his head, Carlos, that's where you email.
Where do I email to Wolf? Right up above my head, right here. He said, I'm definitely manifesting this to go to the conference. Jackie Hall, what time does it start on that Friday? Geez, I think it starts at 6, right?
I believe so. I think we have it listed on the Eventbrite
my
page.
head has been buried in trying to finish these books and doing what we're doing with those. And I've been, with my friends that have helped me by interviewing people and doing everything. And it's just been, that's been my focus right now. And then, of course, work is ever just always there, buzzing in my ear. So I don't always. Ken's been doing a lot of the work on planning and all that stuff, and he doesn't work for free. Everybody thinks that. I don't know where people get that.
You get Shasta.
It's too bad. Let's see. Renee Leos. I wish I could go, but I'm too far. I'm from California and broke like everyone else here. Believe me, there's a lot of people broke here too. Trust me, it's the whole country. It ain't just one place. And I want to say something about one of my listeners said that I was being really mean and ugly and rude, and I said something about hating Californians. I don't hate people from California. That's not it at all. I was just making a joke about certain people that come from California and this and that. And if you're from California, you can't help that you were born there. I don't hate you.
We don't hate people from California. We just hate the sucky ones.
Yeah. We hate anybody that comes from another state and is mean and ugly and nasty to everybody. We hate their behavior. But not all Californians are that way. I've met some really cool ones. I met one the other day at the vitamin shop.
I just hate people who move to other places and expect that place to act like where they came from.
Where they came from.
And then they want to change. And if you don't accept that change, then you're the bad person.
Has anyone seen the movie Sound of Freedom? Is it any good? Everybody's talking about it. I haven't heard anybody's actual opinions on it. Eddie says, I'll run the Shasta stand for a plane ticket. Well, where are you flying from, Eddie? And where are you flying from, Holly? Because I've seen people talking about plane tickets.
Well, Eddie said that he can't make it. I think he said he's in Massachusetts. That's too far.
Yeah. And we tried. North Texas is actually smack dab in the middle of the state. A lot of people are like, oh, it's too far, but it's really in the middle. I mean, if we would have went too far over to the east, we'd have been more to the east, and everybody in the west would have been complaining. Too far to the west, everybody in the east is complaining. So we just had to do what we had to do. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think I'm doing this again next year. I really was surprised that I was able to be talked into doing it this year. So get it while you can, because I'm not going through this next year. I'll enjoy it while we have it, but that's it.
Nina Sinclair says that you should ask the other Josh Turner to come to the conference.
have him sing.
You know, it's funny. Like,
Oh, it says you can sing wolf, and the other Josh Turner can talk cryptids.
that guy has probably actually heard of you at this point.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised some of the people who watch the show and have heard of me. It's very weird. Like it always throws me for a loop.
You can make a Shasta pinata and have Barton try to attack it.
Yeah. Barton will attack you with the nightmare.
I can tell you right now, I know Ken tonight is probably not watching the show. So, and I think Barton left the chat earlier. So,
Yeah, I think he's been busy.
yeah, they're busy. So, folks, I got a Coca-Cola shirt that I got for Barton, and now I got to find a Shasta shirt for Ken. Yeah, and so what I was going to do is I was thinking about maybe getting like these sumo suits and having them bounce around on each other, you know? And I was like, but I didn't know, you know, and then like, what's his name? I was going to work with Christopher Jordan, who was on the show a while back. That was a good show if you guys missed that one.
Dude, Ken in a sumo suit is just a hilarious mental image.
And so I was thinking about at the very least, have them, you know, do something like compete against each other wearing the shirt. You know, but if you guys could help me find a site with a Shasta Cola shirt that I can get for Ken to wear, that would be epic. So
Shasta is my jam would be a perfect way to.
Yeah, that's funny. So anyways, folks, yeah, that's what's going on. And so if you guys can help me find that, that'd be great. Oh, God, I'm sure Nina, she says plane tickets from Canada are expensive, and I will just be getting back from the UK on the 18th of August. Whew. Everything. Dude, we can't even ship to Canada no more.
Yeah.
I tried doing it the other day. It was like $77. I'm like, for what? It was a book. And a book and, like, what did we have? Like some knickknacks and stuff. This is crazy. What are you doing? Oh, Holly, the drive. I'm sure. Where are you coming from? Because
coming from Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh God, then it's a beautiful drive. I drove all the way from Tennessee. It was awesome. It was beautiful. It's thick woods all the way. It's just it's really pretty. Yeah, you'll like it. Yeah, all overbuilt automotive. Yeah, I'm not going to say that, but yeah. Yeah, Brady, maybe a Shasta shirt from the 1970s. Holly, you're coming by yourself? You don't have nobody to bring? You can't rope somebody into coming with you? Brett says, I'm bringing Josh Nonocchio a Saboro shirt. Well, what is that? Yeah, Nina, it's terrible, man. It's so ridiculous. That's why when one of my listeners from the UK wins something, I always just buy them a book from my colleague Paul Sinclair. And Paul, who's a great author and who's got a great show, you know, Truth Proof, he sends them a book, signs it and everything. So there have been multiple people I've been able to do that with. And then I'm trying to get Paul. The problem though is not everybody's into that kind of genre of stuff of the books that Paul Wallace wrote in Australia. Because my Australian listeners they want cryptid and ghosts and stuff. Paul Wallace's Ancient Civilizations. So you know it's kind of like, well, I don't know any other author researcher down in Australia to send you something. Oh, you're getting married, Nina. She says her last name will be Tebbett. Cool. That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Congratulations on that. Well, folks, we've overstayed our time here. Oh, God, Barton's back. I thought he was gone. He's like, I'm on a 15-minute break.
He felt a disturbance in the forest when you were talking about Shasta. That's why 15. He ain't on a 15-minute break.
No, he saw his cloak trembling like the Jurassic Park.
He felt you talking about Shasta. He's like, I gotta get on here now. Oh hell!
He's like, this is a feeling I haven't had since October. He shows up. Yeah, because here at the studio, I'll tell you a funny story. When him and Ken were here for Ken's birthday in October at the studio, and, Barton goes in there, we were looking through the boxes, and he saw that case of Shasta, and he goes, eh!
He's going to be
I
like...
thought he had saw some cockroaches or something, and it was just Shasta,
He's going to be like slicing like whole cases and cans of Shasta in half with Nightmare like a samurai.
Well, he'll bring the swords. You bought them last time.
Yeah.
He said someone said Shasta. I felt a disturbance in my force. All right, guys. Well, you'll see Barton Nunley and Ken Gerhard and Lyle Blackburn and all my other friends. It'll be a hoot and a holler down here in Texas, believe me. So everybody, get your tickets. And now 6 more people have tickets. Thank you for everybody. Thank you to Michael Sproul, a great guy, for doing that and donating to the show so generously and everything he's done to help make the conference what it is. He's going to be a guest of honor, even though he's not going to be there. I think the opening ceremony needs to mention him by name. So, Shasta Cabras. So until we see you on Friday, folks, don't forget, what was the episode that you just dropped yesterday? It's already got like 9,000 views. It did really well. I forgot which one it was.
Oh yeah, I titled it something like
Werewolves in your own backyard.
No. Werewolves in my neighborhood. Hang on.
Werewolves stalking our street.
I'm the one who titled it, and I can't even remember.
What's the werewolves stalking our street?
Oh yeah. Werewolves stalking our streets. The stories in there are like about these werewolves that are in like residential areas, neighborhoods. They're not in the middle of the woods. They're just like right there on your neighborhood street. So go check it out. It's scary.
Yeah. Kate the Great, what do you ask? And she says, not impromptu. I don't know if that's the right wording. What does that mean? Ricardo says, can I message you? And of course you can. Message me on Facebook. We'll become friends. Folks, I'm Josh Turner 940 on Instagram. Josh Turner 940. If you're on Instagram, hit me up and we can become friends. Let me know that it's you and you're a part of the PRT family and you want to be friends. Do the same thing on Facebook and we can become friends, okay? But let me know so I know, okay? Thank you very much for tuning in. We had a great time. This was just fun. And I needed to get these stories. I have a ton of stories and I'm trying to get them out. I know that there's about 50, 60 of them backed up right now. I get it. People are telling me, hey, I sent you my story. You haven't told it. I'm getting to it. And tonight we made some inroads. I've just been very focused on what I'm doing. But the books will be out too. And trust me, okay, they're going to be good. I put everything we had into these books, heart and soul, and I appreciate and I thank everyone who gave their stories and contributed. There's too many to name right now, but there's a lot of great people out there who gave their stories, and a lot of them put their names on them, and I appreciate it. Thank you to everybody who showed up tonight. I hope that everybody has a great week, and we will see you in day after tomorrow?
Yeah.
Friday.
2 days.
Go back and listen to these. Don't forget the episode that we didn't put a good thumbnail on there, but the one I think I saw a werewolf. That's Jenna Perry's story about what I think was a bear man. Go back and listen to that story, and then go to the next two on Tuesday stories.
Well, no, the one with Jenna Perry's
it was
story.
The week before last.
No, it was the one that it's titled "Werewolves and Bear Men in Human Terror" or something like that. Like that's the one. That's the one that had her personal story on it.
I saw a werewolf. I just watched it 2 nights ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was. I think I saw a werewolf, and then the next week was in Human Terror. That's the one with Guadalupe's story on there.
Oh, okay.
I believe that's the one. Yeah, that's the one. She was right outside of Dripping Springs. It's weird because there's something out there where people are seeing. It looks like a bear cryptid human thing. I don't know what it. Anyway, go check them out. Check out the Tuesday shows. I have 3 or 4 really amazing people that I need to record with. 2 that are very prominent in the community, and I'm holding off until I sound a little less like the Mandalorian and a little more like myself. So people were joking around saying I sound like Pedro Pascal, but here's the thing. It's my nasally, whatever. I don't want that to be the sound whenever I do the recording for the podcast. All right. So, anyways, because a lot of those people that listen to the podcast, they don't join us on the live. There's thousands and thousands of people who only listen to the podcast. I feel sorry for them. They don't join us on the live and have the fun we have here. They love it. They love the podcast, and that's great, but they're missing out. So you get so much more content for free just because you show up on YouTube and put up with my crap. So if you guys, like I said, I love you all. If you would, just like and subscribe and turn other people onto the show. It helps the show. It helps grow us and everything. And I will eventually get those pre-records out and get them made. And we'll probably start dropping again on Thursdays. Our goal right now is to go 4 nights a week at least?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd like to go 4 nights a week, and that would help us get all these stories out too, because we get so many coming in, and every time I do a show, I get more stories. But please, don't stop sending stories. Don't get my words twisted like on Facebook. Please, listen to what I'm going to tell you. If you have a story to tell, I'm not saying that you have to have some body of work to tell a story. I'm saying that if you don't have any kind of anything, and all you've done is go out and you don't have any kind of story to tell, then I can't do anything for you. You have to be able to talk about something. That's my point. It is a show about something. It's like we're showing you, or you listen, whatever. But if you don't have that, I can't put you on the show. That's my point. People just completely miss that, when I made that post. So please don't get it twisted. But thank you, everyone who donated. Thank you, everyone, for showing up. Please like and subscribe and continue to spread the word about Paranormal Roundtable. Thank you and good night.